A lone soldier wakes up in a dark, rain-slicked alleyway, completely disoriented and confused. Jinquan gasps in pain as he realizes he is somehow still alive and breathing, struggling to process his survival. He wonders how he could have possibly escaped that explosion. Clutching his aching head, he recalls his identity as a former elite special forces operative. Memories flood back of a disastrous mission where his entire squad was caught in traps. Their own organization betrayed them, using the team as mere targets for a massive strike. Everything ended in a blinding flash of fire. Yet here he is, somehow still standing, fighting through the intense physical agony. He stumbles through the rain looking for immediate shelter. He spots a faint glow from a nearby doorway, signaling potential safety in this area. Calling out into the darkness, he approaches the door only to find a mysterious stranger. Jinquan confronts the stranger, only to find the man is clearly not acting like himself. A dark, unnatural energy surges through the stranger, causing him to convulse in sudden agony. This man collapses forward, leaving Jinquan stunned by the sudden and violent turn of events. Jinquan notices a sewer opening nearby. Realizing he is not the only one hiding here, the stranger falls completely, leaving Jinquan to process the strange scene unfolding before his eyes. Reaching down, Jinquan spots a mysterious blood-stained device lying on the cold, wet ground. He picks up the object, wondering what kind of secret it might be hiding. Suddenly, two hooded figures with skull masks emerge from the shadows to claim the prize. These mysterious assailants immediately identify Jinquan as a loose end that needs to be removed. They launch a coordinated attack, forcing Jinquan to fight for his life against these lethal pursuers. Jinquan barely dodges the initial strike, catching the masked assailant completely off guard. A massive shockwave tears through the alley, forcing him to dive for cover immediately. He holds the mysterious device high, threatening to discard it if they keep pushing him. Seizing a split-second opening, he slides the heavy sewer cover aside to make his escape. This operative lunges into the darkness below, narrowly avoiding the reach of his persistent pursuer. He lands hard in the subterranean tunnels, quickly regaining his focus to assess the situation. Suddenly, he realizes he is not alone down here as someone else approaches him cautiously. A cold barrel presses against his head, forcing him to freeze in his tracks instantly. A blue-haired girl demands to know his faction and why he is involved with her brother. Jinquan tries to explain his innocence, but she remains focused on reclaiming the stolen item. Jinquan hands over the mysterious device, hoping to de-escalate the tense standoff. This blue-haired girl clutches the item, her eyes welling up with deep, inconsolable grief. She laments her brother's foolish sacrifice, clearly mourning a loss that cuts incredibly deep. Her despair palpable as she questions how she can survive in this harsh world. Jinquan watches her struggle, reflecting on the heavy toll that rebirth and loss demand. He recalls the hollow look of refugees, a haunting memory of those displaced by war. These women carry the weight of their trauma, their expressions vacant and utterly broken. They emerge from the dungeon, yet their freedom feels more like a hollow, empty existence. Jinquan realizes that mere rescue cannot fix the deep scars left by such systematic cruelty. With no home left to return to, these survivors face a future of endless uncertainty. Jinquan steps up, offering his protection to the grieving girl as a mercenary. He promises to honor her brother's memory by keeping her safe from harm. Yet she doubts his survival chances. Noting how dangerous this environment truly is, she points to his hand, revealing the physical toll of the relentless dark rain. This city is a death trap where the rain eventually turns into corrosive acid. Exposure to these elements guarantees a grim fate for anyone caught outside too long. Jinquan realizes the severity of his condition as he feels his vitality slipping away. He questions her about the skull-masked pursuers and the nature of this strange place. She explains they are magical enforcement officers from the lower city's dangerous depths. He learns he is in the Flying Eagle Empire during a very different era. Jinquan processes the reality of his displacement, realizing he has somehow traveled a millennium into the future. She explains that people gain power through specific emblems, which are earned by passing rigorous professional exams. These emblems grant individuals unique abilities, ranging from combat prowess to specialized support roles within the Empire. Her brother sacrificed everything to secure this specific emblem, hoping to awaken her potential in this harsh world. Overcome with guilt, she blames herself for his tragic fate, while Jinquan gently asks about her remaining family. She reveals that her brother was her only kin, leaving her completely alone in this dangerous, unforgiving city. Without the power of the emblem to become a professional, she fears she has no hope of survival. Jinquan empathizes with her plight, acknowledging that they are both struggling to find their place in this era. They share a moment of quiet reflection, both contemplating the slim odds of making it through the night. Suddenly, a violent disruption shatters their conversation, forcing them to react to an immediate and unexpected threat. Debris crashes down as the duo realizes their hiding spot has been compromised by pursuers. Panicked, she desperately tries to activate the emblem, knowing their survival depends on immediate results. She focuses every ounce of her willpower, hoping to trigger the latent power within her. But the emblem remains stubbornly dormant, leaving her vulnerable and exposed to the encroaching danger. Jinquan steps in to shield her, but she feels abandoned by the very power she needs. He explains that her body might be rejecting the connection, or she lacks the necessary qualifications. Overwhelmed by self-doubt, she laments wasting her brother's sacrifice, feeling like a total failure. Suddenly, the skull-masked assailants burst through the wreckage, closing the distance with lethal, silent speed. They mock the pair for trying to escape, clearly intending to finish the job quickly. With a ruthless order to seize the emblem, the attackers launch their final, deadly strike. Jinquan realizes the girl is desperate, so he makes a split-second decision to intervene. He snatches the emblem from her hand, deciding to test its power for himself. Pressing the glowing object against his own forehead, he triggers a surge of energy. A massive, dark aura erupts around him, shaking the very foundations of their hideout. This system chimes in with a notification, confirming his successful and unexpected job transfer. His status screen flashes, revealing he has become a demon swordsman with terrifying new potential. His eyes glow with a cold, supernatural light as the transformation takes full hold. Jinquan stares at the interface in disbelief, finally understanding the mechanics of this strange world. This girl watches in awe, realizing he has become a powerful expert in seconds. But their moment is cut short by an intruder demanding to know their authority. This skull-masked assailants charge forward with lethal intent, expecting an easy victory against their targets. This girl watches in shock as Jinquan suddenly steps up to face the encroaching threat head-on. With the emblem's power surging through him, he blocks their strike with a massive glowing blade. His sudden display of strength leaves the masked attackers reeling in complete and utter disbelief. Jinquan doesn't hesitate, launching himself into a high-speed counterattack that catches them entirely off guard. He unleashes a dark, swirling energy that dominates the battlefield and forces them onto the defensive. Realizing the tide has turned, the pursuers desperately try to coordinate a final, desperate offensive. Jinquan scoffs at their arrogance, effortlessly parrying their weapons with a cold, calculated precision. His dark aura overwhelms their defenses, leaving the attackers scrambling to survive his relentless assault. This girl stares in awe, struggling to comprehend how he mastered such power in mere moments. Jinquan lands with newfound grace, his stance radiating a lethal, controlled energy that demands respect. He marvels at the emblem's influence, feeling his previous injuries vanish as his vitality surges. This masked pursuers panic, realizing they have been outplayed by a rookie who shouldn't exist. Jinquan stares them down with glowing eyes, his cold gaze stripping away their remaining confidence. With a sudden burst of speed, he closes the distance to ensure no one escapes. A swift, dark strike renders the attackers unable to continue their pursuit of the pair. Realizing the gravity of their actions, the girl urges Jinquan to flee before reinforcements arrive. They look up at the daunting exit, wondering how to reach the surface from here. She leads the way through a hidden path she discovered during her time in hiding. Jinquan uses a powerful explosive to clear their path, finally breaking out into the night. Jinquan and the girl finally break through the debris, stunned that their desperate escape actually worked. She quickly points out a nearby staircase, urging him to keep moving towards safety. An hour later, they arrive at a quiet, rundown street where she finally calls home. She invites him inside, clearly exhausted from the night of constant threats and narrow misses. This workshop is cluttered, but offers a much-needed sanctuary from the corrosive rain outside. She starts tidying up the space, trying to maintain some normalcy after their harrowing ordeal. Jinquan observes the solitary state of the shop, noting how difficult it must be alone. Her expression darkens as she admits that her brother's absence has left her completely isolated. He apologizes for the painful reminder, but she brushes it off with a weary, sad smile. Their quiet moment is cut short when a mysterious visitor suddenly kicks the shop door open. A formidable warlord crashes the party, instantly putting the girl on high alert. He demands to know what her brother promised him in their secret deal. She is clearly clueless, which only seems to amuse the dangerous visitor further. With a casual wave, he orders his goons to drag her out of there. This girl struggles against their grip, but they are far too strong for her. Jinquan suddenly intervenes, stepping between the girl and her captors with cold intensity. This warlord is unimpressed, questioning who this stranger thinks he is to interfere. Jinquan stares him down, demanding to know what right he has to take her. This warlord arrogantly claims the right of his title, expecting instant submission from everyone. Jinquan uses his new ability to sense the man's true, surprisingly non-malicious intentions. Jinquan cuts straight to the point, demanding to know what it will take to free her. This warlord reveals that her brother owed him a debt involving a dangerous mine pit. He describes a hellish place filled with sand-devouring monsters that need to be brought back, offering to release the girl only if Jinquan survives this impossible task for his own gain. But the warlord decides to test Jinquan's worthiness with a sudden, high-speed strike to the face. Jinquan stands his ground as the powerful blow whistles through the air toward his head. This girl screams in terror, warning him that this man is a high-ranking professional holder. Wang Meng draws a heavy, reinforced rod, clearly intending to crush any resistance with ease. Their weapons collide in a blinding flash of energy that shakes the entire workshop floor. Jinquan manages to block the devastating attack, proving he might actually survive this brutal encounter. Wang Meng is genuinely stunned that Jinquan possesses such rare high-level talent from the upper city. This girl watches in total disbelief as her protector successfully parries the warlord's heavy lethal strike. Jinquan demands to know if he qualifies now, forcing the warlord to acknowledge his unexpected potential. This commander sets a dangerous condition, requiring a specific flower from the deadly Pit 1 zone, with the deal struck for 8 in the morning. The atmosphere turns grim and incredibly heavy. A cruel mandate is issued, forcing all local men over 16 to report to the pit. This commander makes his lethal ultimatum perfectly clear, showing zero tolerance for anyone who arrives late. Jinquan realizes the girl's brother likely perished in that same hellish pit while while trying to survive. He suspects the entire mission might be a calculated trap designed to eliminate him for good. Knowing the stakes, he prepares to master his new abilities before the morning deadline arrives. Jinquan focuses his mind, unlocking the Netherflame God statue as his primary powerful talent. Swirling energies of red and blue collide, manifesting a volatile and potent new force. A spectral horned figure looms behind him, radiating an aura of pure dark combat intensity. He summons a massive jagged blade that hums with an ominous and sharp lethal energy. Though his second talent remains obscured, he knows its potential is definitely worth the risk. Testing his new strength, he swings the heavy weapon, shattering the air with ease. Debris scatters across the workshop as he realizes the sheer scale of his newfound power. He catches his reflection, noting how his current appearance feels strangely foreign and too refined. This status screen confirms his identity as Diwu Jinquan, a name that feels slightly off. Putting his confusion aside, he steps out into the night to uncover this world's secrets. Jinquan hits a local bar to gather intel. Finding the atmosphere surprisingly lively despite the danger, he strikes up a conversation with a local, confirming their grim destination for the next morning. This man explains that Pit 1 is essentially a death trap disguised as a mining operation. He warns Jinquan about the sand devourers, creatures that treat human workers like mere organic snacks. These massive beasts create tunnels by consuming miners, turning the entire pit into a living nightmare. Jinquan realizes the sheer scale of the threat, yet he remains focused on his survival mission. His informant offers a hollow toast, clearly aware that their odds of returning are incredibly slim. They clink glasses in a silent pact, both knowing the morning will bring a brutal test. Suddenly, Li Hongyu storms into the scene, radiating pure hostility and demanding answers from the crowd. He aggressively interrogates everyone present, desperate to track down the missing emblem before it is lost. Li Hongyu learns his targets vanished into the sewers after triggering a massive tunnel collapse. Despite his subordinates' logical warnings about the rarity of the emblem, Li remains completely obsessed. He orders a ruthless manhunt, declaring that no commoner is worthy of holding such power. His underlings have no choice but to obey his extreme demands, regardless of the difficulty. This pressure mounts as the deadline for delivering ore to the Flying Eagle Legion looms. Li decides that scanning everyone heading to the mines is the only way to catch them. This next morning, a massive transport train arrives to haul the laborers toward their fate. Guards bark orders, forcing the crowd to board the vehicles with zero regard for safety. Jinquan blends into the frantic, shoving mass of people, trying to keep his head down. Li arrives at the station, personally overseeing the operation to ensure no one slips away. Li Hongyu orders his men to screen every single person boarding the transport train. They deploy a specialized scanner designed to detect the unique energy signature of the emblem. This commander pushes his subordinates to accelerate the process and maintain a tight perimeter. Jinquan watches the search unfold from the crowd. Realizing the net is closing in fast, he keeps his composure, knowing any slip-up now would instant discovery by the guards. Laborers are shoved forward by impatient officers, forcing Jinquan deeper into the packed transport car. He maneuvers through the crushing mass of people to avoid drawing any unnecessary attention. This train car reaches maximum capacity, leaving the remaining workers to scramble for other spots. A hooded figure nearby reveals a glowing object, and Jinquan immediately senses the dangerous energy. He realizes someone else is hiding a dark secret, and the malice is palpable nearby. This crushing density of the transport car makes breathing nearly impossible for the terrified laborers. Jinquan keeps his head down, struggling to remain unnoticed amidst the suffocating crowd of workers. Panic erupts as the guards ignore the lethal conditions, forcing even more people inside regardless. Suddenly, the armed officers bark orders for everyone to freeze, halting the entire boarding process. Jinquan raises his hands in surrender, hoping his calm demeanor keeps the guards from investigating. Li Hongyu steps forward, casually announcing that a valuable item was stolen in the district. Realizing the target is his own emblem, Jinquan feels the tension in the room skyrocket instantly. Li Hongyu smirks, deciding that if no one confesses, he will simply search every single person. His men deploy a specialized tracking device that begins scanning the crowd for the stolen energy. This scanner locks onto Jinquan, leaving him no choice but to prepare for a desperate confrontation. Li Hongyu's scanner sweeps the room, his lethal promise hanging heavy over the terrified crowd. Jinquan holds his breath as the device passes over him, signaling no energy detected yet. He tries to remain calm. Though the tension of the search is clearly wearing him down, this scanner continues its relentless hunt, pushing deeper into the packed mass of desperate laborers. Panic ripples through the workers as they realize someone nearby is hiding a dangerous secret. Suddenly, the device shrieks with a high-pitched alert, pinpointing a surge of hidden spiritual energy. Li Hongyu's eyes light up with predatory glee, finally catching the scent of his target. A hooded man nearby realizes he has been exposed, his composure shattering in an instant. This scanner locks onto the man, firing a concentrated beam to mark him for capture. This poor guy cries out as the energy blast strikes, his cover blown and escape impossible. Li Hongyu looms over the crowd, demanding the stolen emblem with a lethal, impatient glare. He grabs a terrified laborer by the collar, convinced he has finally cornered his thief. This man desperately hands over a glowing object. Hoping to save his own skin, Li examines the item, only to realize with disgust that it is just a worthless crystal. Frustrated by the dead end, he crushes the object into dust, showing his utter lack of mercy. He barks orders for his team to keep scanning, refusing to let his target slip away. This subordinate reports no further energy spikes, leaving the commander visibly irritated by the lack of results. Li scowls, his obsession with the lost emblem pushing him to the brink of a total meltdown. He commands his men to move to the next transport car, continuing the brutal systematic search. 5 hours later, the train finally reaches the desolate, debris-filled landscape of the deadly mining zone. Jinquan stares out the window, realizing they have finally arrived at the dreaded Pit 1. A fellow laborer warns him that the guards have abandoned ship, leaving them completely stranded. This train plunges deeper into the abyss, where the threat of monsters grows exponentially worse. Without wasting a second, Jinquan decides to bail out before the transport reaches its final stop. He leaps from the moving vehicle, prioritizing his own survival over staying with the herd. Landing hard on the rocky terrain, he quickly recovers his footing to assess the surroundings. This landscape is a jagged, crimson nightmare that looks nothing like the world he knows. Jinquan scans the desolate environment, desperately wishing for any kind of map or local intel. He keeps his senses sharp, alert to the strange energy radiating from the crystalline structures. Moving with calculated speed, he plunges into the dark unknown to complete his impossible mission. Jinquan strikes with blinding speed, his blade cutting through the air to intercept a hidden pursuer. This sudden ambush forces his attacker out of the shadows and onto the jagged, unforgiving ground. Our hero calmly calls out his stalker, clearly unimpressed by the amateur attempt at a surprise attack. This assailant lunges forward with a desperate wild swing, hoping to catch Jinquan off guard. Jinquan effortlessly parries the incoming strike, his movements fluid and far more refined than his opponent's. This attacker's confidence crumbles instantly as he realizes he is completely outmatched by this mysterious trainee. A single, decisive counterstrike sends the man crashing down, effectively ending the brief and one-sided skirmish. This defeated pursuer is left reeling from the impact. His aggression replaced by sudden, overwhelming panic, Jinquan looms over him with his heavy blade raised, demanding answers while the man cowers in fear. This terrified stalker begs for mercy, claiming he was forced into this trap against his own will. Jinquan holds his blade at the throat of his attacker, demanding to know who he is. This man identifies himself as Cheng Xiao. Admitting he only attacked out of pure starvation, Jinquan presses for information on how to gain power. Learning that emblems are rare drops, Cheng Xiao warns that the upper city elites often treat the locals like disposable bait for monsters. Survival in this pit is a grim waiting game, requiring either constant hiding or lethal combat. Jinquan shifts the topic to leveling up, only to learn the local threats are incredibly dangerous. Cheng Xiao expresses his bleak outlook, believing the laborers are essentially just food for the monsters. A sudden warning cuts the conversation short as a winged creature dives toward them with speed. This threat reveals itself as a high-level insectoid, its glowing eyes marking them as easy prey. Jinquan realizes the area is swarming with these pests, forcing him to prepare for immediate battle. Cheng Xiao panics as the insectoid closes in, urging Jinquan to flee for their lives. He is clearly terrified by the sheer lethality of the creature hunting them down. Jinquan ignores the retreat, stepping forward to intercept the beast with his jagged blade. He dispatches the threat with ease, proving his combat potential is far beyond the norm. Cheng Xiao watches in total disbelief, shocked that his new acquaintance just eliminated the monster, desperate to survive. He immediately begs to join Jinquan as a loyal, obedient sidekick. Jinquan coldly rejects the offer, dismissing the man as nothing more than useless dead weight. A sudden, swirling vortex of energy erupts nearby, catching our hero's attention mid-conversation. A massive armored creature emerges from the rift, signaling a much tougher challenge ahead. Jinquan realizes they have stumbled into a much larger problem than they initially anticipated. Jinquan leaps into action, intercepting the massive armored beast before it can reach the terrified Cheng. Poor Cheng is completely out of his depth, screaming for help as the predator closes in. Our hero lands firmly on the jagged ground, drawing his weapon to face the towering threat. This creature lets out a deafening roar, its glowing eyes locking onto Jinquan as the primary target standing his ground. Jinquan prepares to trade blows with the heavily armored monstrosity in the dark. He realizes the beast is slow despite its thick shell, giving him a massive tactical advantage. Channeling his energy, Jinquan strikes with a precise glowing blade that cuts through the thick air. He dances around the creature's clumsy lunges, keeping his momentum high to avoid getting pinned down. Focusing his intent, he unleashes a specialized technique to overwhelm the monster's defenses with rapid strikes. This powerful energy surge tears through the beast's armor, leaving it reeling from the unexpected assault. Jinquan lands a massive blow, instantly skyrocketing to level 6 after taking down the beast. He realizes this world functions like a game where defeating stronger foes yields better rewards. Scavenging the remains of the fallen creature, he finds a rare piece of loot tucked away. This system identifies it as a piece of equipment that boosts his strength and defensive capabilities. Holding the glowing emblem, he notes that gear drops are a real thing in this nightmare. He attempts to equip the item immediately to gain an edge in this hostile, dark environment. Unfortunately, the system rejects his attempt, citing that he hasn't reached the necessary level threshold yet. Realizing he is stuck with gear he cannot use, he sighs at the game-like restrictions. He decides to push those frustrations aside and focus on scouting the dangerous unknown terrain ahead. Stepping into the darkness, he is met by a swarm of glowing eyes watching his arrival. Jinquan spots a massive insectoid looming over him, its sharp limbs poised for a lethal strike. He realizes this swarm of crystal-back bugs is the perfect opportunity to test his combat skills. Gripping his blade with renewed focus, he prepares to turn these monsters into his personal training. With a grin, he charges directly into the heart of the swarm to begin his leveling grind. He makes quick work of the first target, proving that his strength far exceeds the expected limits. Moving like a blur, he cuts through the remaining creatures with ruthless efficiency and perfect timing. This system notifications flood his vision, confirming that he is successfully dismantling the high-level bug threat. After the dust settles, he collects a green emblem that drops from the defeated monster horde. He inspects the item, realizing he has finally secured a rare profession emblem for his collection. Now that he knows these drops are possible, he sets his sights on finding the swordsmanship emblem. Jinquan spots a strange glowing item dropped by the swarm, piquing his immediate curiosity. He lunges forward to claim the prize, narrowly dodging a lethal projectile in the process. A massive shadow looms over him, forcing our hero to abandon his pursuit and retreat. This source of the threat reveals itself as a level 25 crystal ore bug king. Jinquan realizes the massive gap in their levels, knowing this fight is far from fair. Deciding that survival is the better part of valor, he turns ends and sprints away fast. He spots a pack of wild beasts nearby, sparking a sudden, dangerous plan in his mind. These creatures look aggressive enough to serve as the perfect distraction for his escape route. Jinquan lures the massive bug king directly into the pack, inciting a chaotic three-way brawl. This insectoid unleashes a toxic spray, turning the entire area into a total deadly mess. This toxic spray cuts through the air, hitting the pack of beasts with precision. These wild creatures immediately turn their aggression toward the massive insectoid in their path. A chaotic brawl erupts as the pack swarms the king, desperate to survive the encounter. Jinquan watches from the sidelines with a smirk, knowing his baiting tactic worked perfectly well. He waits patiently for the right moment to strike while the monsters tear each other. This bug king struggles under the weight of the pack, its defenses finally starting to. One of the beasts manages to land a solid hit, drawing blood from the king. Jinquan observes the carnage from a distance, calculating the exact second to make his move. Spotting a clear opening in the king's armor, he lunges forward with his heavy blade. He delivers a final decisive strike, bringing the massive creature down in one swift motion. Jinquan delivers a final crushing blow that brings the massive insectoid king to its knees. This impact of his strike sends a shockwave through the area, signaling a hard-won victory. His status screen updates to level 11, confirming that his power is growing at breakneck speed. Surveying the aftermath, he notes that using the local wildlife as bait was a smart move. He retrieves a pair of glowing blue emblems from the remains of his defeated, formidable foe. This system identifies the loot as high-tier gear, though he lacks the rank to equip them. Frustrated by these arbitrary restrictions, he stores the items away to focus on the immediate mission. Suddenly, a sharp noise snaps his attention toward the shadows, putting him on high alert. A swarm of winged creatures fills the dark sky, indicating that more trouble is approaching. He narrows his eyes, ready to face whatever new threat emerges from the crimson abyss. Jinquan stands his ground against the incoming swarm, shouting for the creatures to back off. He deflects a sudden, high-speed assault with a precise strike of his glowing, reinforced blade. A familiar voice echoes through the chaos, making him pause as he recognizes the tone. It turns out to be a red-haired survivor, struggling to keep his rifle aimed and steady. This man is clearly at his limit, convinced that his survival is just a ticking clock. Two high-level bat kings are circling him, their glowing eyes locked onto their next easy meal, refusing to go down without a fight. The survivor prepares to unleash his final desperate barrage. He drops to a knee, bracing his weapon against the jagged terrain for a focused shot. A powerful energy round tears through the air, aimed directly at the heart of the threat. This projectiles collide with the monsters, turning the dark sky into a flash of intense light. This red-haired survivor realizes his firepower is completely ineffective against the relentless aerial assault. Those bat-like monsters dive through the energy blast, showing no signs of slowing down. He braces for the end as the creatures close the distance with terrifying, predatory speed. Desperation takes hold, leaving him to accept that his journey might end in this wasteland. Suddenly, a blur of motion intercepts the swarm, cutting through the chaos with impossible precision. This survivor looks up in shock as Jinquan casually steps into the fray to intervene. He can barely process that Jinquan just neutralized the high-level threats without breaking a sweat. A quick handshake seals their temporary alliance, with Jinquan offering a way out of danger. They begin to navigate the treacherous path together, hoping to escape the immediate monster swarm, but their relief is short-lived as a massive multi-headed horror emerges from the dark abyss. A massive high-level bat king erupts from the abyss, radiating pure lethal energy. This red-haired survivor panics as the creature closes in, realizing they are completely outmatched. This beast dives with terrifying speed, its fiery aura scorching the very air around them. Jinquan shoves his new ally aside just as the monster's claws tear through the ground. They scramble to reposition, narrowly avoiding the creature's relentless, sweeping strikes in the dark. This bat king unleashes a torrent of fire, forcing them to take cover behind jagged rocks. Jinquan orders the survivor to find an escape route while he prepares to hold the line. He channels his energy into a defensive barrier, shielding them from the monster's explosive assault. This survivor questions the plan. Terrified by the sheer power of the fusion-type creature, Jinquan remains calm, unfazed by the threat, and ready to prove his own strength against it. Jinquan eyes the fiery Bat King, knowing that taking down a boss means massive experience gains. He launches himself toward the beast with reckless speed, leaving his allies stunned in the dust. This red-haired survivor watches in disbelief, convinced that Jinquan is just throwing his life away. Our hero ignores the doubt, closing the distance to engage the monster in a lethal dance. This Bat King retaliates with a searing blast of energy, forcing Jinquan to stay on guard. He weaves through the flames, his movements precise as he prepares to land a heavy blow. Realizing this boss is far more durable than the last, he decides to escalate the fight. Jinquan calls upon a powerful hidden technique, summoning a spectral warrior to turn the tide. This glowing phantom manifests instantly, brandishing a spear with cold, calculated intent to strike. This spectral entity lunges forward, driving its weapon deep into the heart of the fiery beast. This red-haired survivor stares in total disbelief at the strange energy Jinquan just unleashed. Those eerie blue flames engulf the spectral warrior, leaving the witness questioning everything he knows. He wonders how a descendant of a supposedly wiped-out family could wield such power. Jinquan checks his status, annoyed that grinding through bosses only pushed him to level 15. His new ally thanks him for the rescue, but can't help asking about his mysterious abilities. This survivor admits he was once a class holder before losing his status to circumstances. He gestures to his rifle, explaining that he is just barely scraping by with gear. Jinquan is genuinely shocked to learn that a person can actually be stripped of their class. This survivor claims he is likely the only one to have survived such a fate. He reveals that a toxic abyss flower is responsible for corrupting emblems and draining power. This red-haired survivor opens up about his royal lineage and the burden of his family. Jinquan deflects the comparison. Though he is clearly intrigued by the mention of his origins, shock registers on Jinquan's face when he realizes this stranger actually knows his true identity. This survivor recounts the legend of a powerful pioneer who once held a legendary class. He describes the terrifying Nether Flame God statue, a talent that left monsters and rivals trembling. Jinquan is stunned to learn about his own bloodline heritage and the mystery of his family. His companion explains that the clan's power has severely declined over the last few centuries. A sudden glowing item catches their attention amidst the debris of the recent intense battle. Jinquan inspects the rare Bat King's blade, a powerful weapon that perfectly suits his current needs. Realizing he finally has the right gear, he prepares to test his new swordsmanship equipment. Jinquan crushes a crystal fragment, testing his grip strength before moving on to his gear. He draws the Bat King's blade, admiring the way it hums with lethal, refined energy. Noting that while the weapon is impressive, he wonders if a fusion could improve it. With a focused look, he decides to put the blade through its paces immediately. He swings the weapon in a wide arc, testing the reach and weight of steel. This blade cuts through the air with a speed that catches even him off guard. Realizing the weapon offers a significant speed bonus, he considers merging it with his own. He positions both blades in front of him, preparing to initiate the complex fusion process. Energy begins to swirl around the two weapons as they start to meld together. He watches in genuine surprise as the fusion succeeds, creating a superior glowing new weapon. Jinquan confirms the weapon's power has been significantly boosted by the successful fusion process. He offers the survivor some low-level emblems, but the man isn't interested in scraps. Jinquan bluntly warns his new companion that he won't survive long in this dangerous wasteland. Sensing an opportunity, the survivor pivots to propose a strategic deal between the two. He reveals a legendary grade-class emblem for a heavy artillery controller to pique interest, explaining its value. He highlights how a long-range sniper is essential for any future legion. Jinquan remains skeptical, questioning if the item is truly as legendary as the man claims. This survivor breaks down the emblem grading system, ranging from common white to mythic red. Jinquan considers the trade, weighing the value of the legendary emblem against a future favor. Despite the threat of violence, they find common ground as two people with similar ambitions. This survivor reveals his family originally discovered this mine before selling it off. He offers Jinquan a map, promising a safer route to reach a higher rank. Jinquan remains cautious, questioning exactly what the man needs in exchange for this intel. This plan involves using a rare creature to trigger an abyss fissure for them. They discuss the strategy of pressuring the beast until it creates an escape portal. Jinquan realizes he must first hit rank 3 to pull off such a maneuver. His new ally agrees to guide him, provided they can locate the dangerous spider matriarch. This survivor looks visibly unsettled when Jinquan mentions hunting such a formidable high-level target. Jinquan explains he needs a specific flower. While the survivor details the mine's history, they realize the area is restricted because the spider is far too deadly for anyone. Jinquan strikes a bargain to hunt the rat, provided he gets the map and intel. Their alliance is sealed with a firm handshake, setting their sights on the dangerous path. They venture deep into the Crimson Abyss, moving toward the heart of the monster territory. His companion warns of burrowing scorpions, noting this area is perfect for rapid experience gains. A sudden, sharp movement from the shadows signals that they are being hunted by predators. This red-haired survivor shouts a frantic warning just as a hidden threat lunges from behind. Jinquan reacts with lightning speed, parrying the lethal strike with his newly fused, glowing blade. A massive armored scorpion reveals itself, letting out a roar that shakes the cavern floor. He orders his ally to keep his distance, preparing to handle the high-level beast alone. With a focused expression, he lunges forward to deliver a decisive blow to the monster. Jinquan strikes with his fused blade, cleanly bisecting the armored scorpion. In a single motion, this creature falls, leaving behind valuable materials that the red-haired survivor desperately needs for recovery. He rushes to collect the spoils, hoping these resources will finally stabilize his worsening condition. Their brief moment of success is shattered when another massive, aggressive beast charges into view. Panic sets in for the survivor as he realizes they are facing an even greater threat. This monster lets out a deafening roar, closing the gap with terrifying, predatory intent. Jinquan moves with impossible speed, intercepting the beast before it can reach his vulnerable ally. He swings his glowing blade in a wide arc, forcing the creature to recoil instantly. Maintaining the offensive, he keeps the pressure on to ensure the monster cannot retaliate. But the situation turns dire as more glowing eyes emerge from the deep, dark shadows. Jinquan tells his ally to fall back while he handles the incoming swarm of monsters. He stands his ground against the encroaching scorpions, keeping them focused entirely on himself. Moving with incredible agility, he launches into the fray to strike at the nearest threat. His blade carves through the armored beasts, showing no mercy as he clears the path. This system confirms another kill, pushing his level to 16 after a clean, efficient victory. Jinquan remains unimpressed by the challenge, finding these high-level lords surprisingly easy to take down. His companion watches in awe, struggling to comprehend how a standard profession wields such power. Their conversation shifts when they spot a strange glowing plant growing deep in the abyss. This survivor warns him about the plant's regeneration, pointing out the weak spot on its back. Jinquan prepares to engage the massive, toothy flower, ready to test his strength once again. Jinquan leaps into the fray, his eyes locked onto the massive vine-covered plant monster, mocking the creature's glaring vulnerability. He prepares to dismantle its defenses with surgical precision. With a smirk, he closes the distance, his blade humming as it prepares to strike. He slices through the thick organic tendrils, leaving the beast wide open for a finisher. This monster lets out a final desperate cry as Jinquan delivers a clean, decisive blow. This creature shatters into fragments, triggering a system notification that bumps him up to level 18. His companion watches in total shock, baffled by how easily Jinquan sliced through such tough hide. They turn their attention to the loot, spotting 2 rare crests floating amidst the remains. Jinquan inspects the new ring, noting its impressive healing buffs and extra storage space utility. He also gains a powerful defensive spell, adding yet another tool to his growing arsenal. This red-haired survivor questions Jinquan about his unique ability to weaken their monstrous foes, explaining that such a trait actively prevents creatures from recovering during the heat of battle. He notes that Jinquan's strikes seem to bypass natural defenses as if they were nothing. Jinquan admits his combat style is unusual, attributing the strange effects to his specific talent. This conversation shifts as his companion asks if he has ever tried removing a crest. He warns that crests are permanent parts of one's cultivation and vanish upon being unequipped. Impressed by this knowledge, Jinquan suggests his ally should head north to safety immediately. This path ahead leads toward a dangerous, high-level lava behemoth currently resting in the depths. His companion explains that defeating this beast is necessary to secure rare fruit for hunting. They stand together at the threshold, preparing to face the next major challenge in their journey. They finally reach the massive lava behemoth, a Tier 3 lord radiating intense, dangerous heat. This red-haired survivor warns that this level 39 beast is nearly impossible to damage while sleeping. Jinquan ignores the caution, deciding to test the creature's legendary durability with a simple stone throw. Launching himself toward the slumbering giant, he prepares to deliver a swift and calculated strike. This rock bounces harmlessly off the behemoth's thick hide, confirming the rumors about its impenetrable armor. Standing back, Jinquan acknowledges the sheer scale of the challenge, while the monster remains completely still. He draws his fused blade, channeling his energy for a strike meant to bypass that defense. With a single, precise motion, he drives the glowing weapon straight down through the creature's center. This energy from his blade tears through the molten exterior, forcing the behemoth to finally awaken. A massive shockwave erupts as the beast begins to crumble under the weight of his attack. Jinquan secures a massive level jump after taking down the high-tier lava behemoth. His companion is left completely stunned by the sheer efficiency of such a feat. Glowing loot rains down from the defeated monster, signaling a major haul for them. Jinquan eyes the legendary orange-grade crest with a grin, knowing it is a game-changer. This system displays a powerful new greatsword and chess piece with incredible defensive stats. Additional gear pieces round out the set, offering massive boosts to his overall durability. Checking his status, he wonders if he has finally met the requirements to advance. He hits level 20 but realizes he still lacks the specific emblem for swordsmanship. Meanwhile, his ally celebrates finding the rare molten lava fruit needed for his recovery. Jinquan presses for information on where to find the missing emblem to keep progressing. His companion explains that rare emblems only drop from monsters significantly stronger than the player. Jinquan considers an agility-focused path, but his ally quickly shuts down that particular idea. He argues that a constitution-based build is actually the superior choice for a swordsman. Despite the common belief that such builds lack the necessary damage output to be viable, this red-haired survivor insists that Jinquan possesses a unique potential that changes everything. He notes that Jinquan's special abilities can perfectly compensate for the usual weaknesses of that build. Jinquan accepts the logic, shifting his focus toward the next steps of their strategic plan. They review a map of the region, identifying 3 key locations for their upcoming hunt. Farming these areas should provide enough emblems to push Jinquan all the way to rank 3. Reaching rank 4 will require them to eventually leave the mines and head toward the city. Young Master Li is spiraling, desperate to secure the emblem before his city collapses. He demands his subordinates scour every inch of the area, despite the impossible odds. News arrives that rivals from the upper city are already moving in to interfere. Lee loses his composure, furious that anyone would dare enter his territory without permission. His advisor suggests he handle the situation personally to maintain his status and control. A dark, menacing aura surrounds Lee as he contemplates the threat to his power. He decides to take matters into his own hands, his frustration reaching a breaking point. Reaching out to his uncle, he demands an update on the status of the item. This uncle claims he has the object but is currently tied up with social obligations. This call ends abruptly, leaving Lee staring at his phone in a state of shock. Lee Hongyu loses his cool, demanding his associates fix the mess before his family suffers. He desperately calls Fang Huai, trying to shift the blame for the missing emblem onto him. Fang Huai remains calm, insisting his innocence is clear and inviting any investigation into his actions. He confirms the search area is locked down, narrowing the culprit's location to the dangerous Deadman City, cutting ties. Fang Huai leaves Lee to face the consequences of his own incompetence alone. He turns to his mysterious mentor, Old Joe, questioning the actual odds of recovering the lost item. Old Joe delivers a grim reality check, noting that their chances of success are practically non-existent. He mentions the family head is already moving elsewhere, leaving Lee to fend for himself against rivals. Back in the abyss, Jinquan effortlessly dismantles the rhinoceros beetle king, securing a massive experience boost. He tosses the rare horn to his companion, satisfied with the loot he has already claimed. Jinquan strikes with precision, finishing off the beast while maintaining his momentum in the abyss. He lands gracefully, his blade still humming with the residual energy of his powerful attack. This system reveals a new purple-grade skill emblem, which he realizes he can master instantly. Focusing his intent on the glowing crest, he absorbs the technique to expand his combat repertoire. A dark, crackling aura envelops him as the new ability integrates perfectly into his growing arsenal. Testing the skill, he unleashes a devastating purple arc that carves through the cavernous shadows. This sheer force of the strike leaves no doubt about the lethality of his new move. His companion watches in disbelief, noting how rapidly Jinquan is evolving his combat capabilities. They discuss the final requirement for his advancement, which involves hunting a specific aquatic creature. Jinquan prepares his gear, ready to dive into the water and claim the last necessary piece. Jinquan uses the beetle meat as bait, casting his line into the dark, murky waters. A sudden tug on the line confirms they have successfully hooked their aquatic target. A massive, aggressive fish erupts from the depths, forcing the pair to prepare for combat. Jinquan lunges forward with incredible speed, meeting the beast head-on to secure the final kill. This system confirms his advancement to Tier 2, surrounding him. It's no surge of energy. He officially becomes a demonic swordsman, finding the entire process surprisingly easy to pull off. A new, enhanced skill is unlocked, granting him a powerful, ruinous strike for his repertoire. His blade glows with intense, fiery power as he tests the limits of his upgrade. With the immediate threat neutralized, the two survivors settle down to share a warm meal. They joke about opening a restaurant, finding a rare moment of peace amidst the chaos. Jinquan questions the true scale of their world, wondering if there is any real end. His companion explains the dominance of 3 major empires that rule over the weak. Jinquan realizes that true freedom in this harsh landscape is reserved only for the strong. They discuss the grim reality that living under someone else's thumb is the only alternative. This red-haired survivor doubts the empires can survive the rising tide of monstrous beasts. He warns of a coming wandering era where humanity will be forced into constant hiding. Shifting gears, they note that tour groups are now venturing into the dangerous pit zones. A train carries unsuspecting passengers toward the outer platform of the infamous Dead City. Travelers speculate on why the zone opened, mocking those who think they can survive there. They spot young Master Lee among the crowd, laughing at his past failures and injuries. A passenger on the train seethes over past trauma involving Ji-Linger and her brother, but the tension is cut short when Ji-Linger herself steps in to silence them. She commands the group to move out, clearly taking charge of the situation with authority. Meanwhile, a nervous traveler resolves to shadow the others to ensure they do not lose the emblem. Jinquan learns that these upper district tour groups are just bored elites looking for lethal entertainment. His companion suggests heading to Ghostwood Valley to keep the leveling momentum going strong. They arrive at the eerie, overgrown location, a prime spot for hunting dangerous, agile creatures. This valley is crawling with slicing blade mantises, perfect targets for testing their current combat skills. His ally hands over a bloodbud shock bomb, a tactical tool designed to immobilize fast enemies. Jinquan prepares for the hunt, noting that the mantises have weak defenses once their armor breaks. This red-haired ally reveals his background as a blood-flesh mechanic, aiming to upgrade his gear. Jinquan realizes that weapons can actually evolve through monster kills, a revelation that changes everything. His companion explains that his specialized spear was once a guard, now refined into a tool. They agree to focus on high-efficiency kills to maximize the chance of rare skill drops. Jinquan wastes no time, charging into the fray with his blade glowing with lethal intent. A slicing blade mantis leaps from the shadows, catching Jinquan off guard with its sudden speed. He reacts instantly, channeling his energy into a defensive counter that shatters the creature's momentum. This mantis attempts a strike, but Jinquan's superior positioning turns the tide of the skirmish. Anticipating a sneak attack, he pivots with blinding speed to punish the creature's reckless aggression. With a single decisive strike, he eliminates the threat and secures a perfect efficiency rating. Jinquan stares at the fallen statue. Impressed by the sheer power of his own strike, his ally shouts a warning to retreat as the creature's remains begin to shift. Dark energy erupts from the severed form, lashing out with dangerous, unpredictable tendrils of power. Stepping in, his companion takes the lead to handle the volatile threat with his gear. A precise shot rings out, freezing the chaotic energy in a massive crystalline containment field. This red-haired survivor grins, clearly satisfied with how well his specialized equipment performed just now. Jinquan watches the aftermath, his focus already shifting to the next wave of incoming threats. A slicing blade mantis leaps from the brush, its razor-sharp limbs ready to tear through anything. Drawing his blade, Jinquan prepares to meet the aggressive beast with a calculated, lethal counter. He clashes with the mantis, his weapon ringing out as he deflects the creature's strike. Jinquan finds himself suddenly surrounded by a pack of aggressive mantis creatures. His companion shouts a desperate warning to dodge the incoming ambush. Channeling the power of the Netherflame God statue, Jinquan prepares a counter. He activates his defensive barrier just as the monsters launch their coordinated assault. Surging with newfound energy, he pushes back against the overwhelming odds. A single fluid strike clears the immediate threat and nets him a massive experience bonus. Dark energy lashes out from the defeated foes, but he remains completely unfazed. His ally watches in awe, realizing Jinquan's reflexes are far sharper than anticipated. Spotting another movement in the shadows, Jinquan locks onto his next target. He lunges forward with lethal precision, cutting down the final mantis without hesitation. Jinquan unleashes a powerful strike, carving through the air with his glowing blade. A massive swarm of mantis creatures emerges from the fog, ready to overwhelm him. He swings his weapon with absolute focus, preparing to test his new combat technique. Channeling his energy, he executes a devastating slash that tears across the entire battlefield. The sheer force of his attack cuts through multiple enemies in one fluid motion. Seizing the momentum, he follows up with another precise strike to maintain his advantage. This remaining creature struggles to defend against his relentless and rapid assault. His system confirms a level up, granting him a massive boost to his combat potential. He deflects an incoming blow with ease, his armor absorbing the impact without issue. A towering, evolved mantis confronts him, but Jinquan stands ready to finish the fight. Jinquan narrowly dodges a lethal ambush from a hidden boss lurking within the valley. His red-haired ally immediately calls for the use of a specialized explosive device. Grabbing the canister mid-air, Jinquan prepares to turn the tide against their massive opponent. This rending blade mantis king lunges forward, its razor-sharp limbs cutting through the dense forest air. Jinquan tosses the device, which detonates on impact to bind the creature in place. Glowing red energy coils tighten around the beast, effectively neutralizing its terrifying speed and agility. Seizing the opening, his partner urges him to strike while the boss remains completely vulnerable. Leaping high into the air, Jinquan channels his full strength for a decisive downward blow. His blade carves through the target with absolute precision, ending the threat in one motion. This system confirms his victory and level up, leaving Jinquan to marvel at his newfound durability. Jinquan secures the rare loot drops from his latest victory, feeling the power surge within. This system unveils a purple-tier flying wing skill, promising rapid, high-damage strikes for his arsenal. Even better, a legendary orange-tier demonic wing technique appears, offering devastating aerial mobility and combat reach. With these rare skills finally in his possession, Jinquan realizes he is nearly ready for advancement. His red-haired ally credits their success to the recent hunt, noting their gear is evolving. They celebrate the upgrade of their equipment, acknowledging the steady climb in their overall power. Jinquan confirms he only needs one more level to hit the next major tier milestone. He stays focused on the goal, prioritizing efficiency to maximize their leveling speed and safety. His partner leads the way toward a new hunting ground, promising a prime location. They arrive at a field of docile oxen, a perfect target for a controlled high-yield harvest. Jinquan observes the spinal-horned oxen, noting their resilience against standard group-based combat buff. His red-haired partner suggests using the environment to their advantage instead of direct confrontation. They discuss how pioneers usually rely on traps, but Jinquan decides to carve his own path. This risk of being trapped by the oxen's earth-sealing ability forces them to plan carefully. Jinquan steps forward with his blade drawn, signaling his intent to handle the herd alone. He dashes across the open field, his movements blurring as he prepares for the initial strike. This herd stands ready, their glowing horns pulsing with a dangerous heavy energy. His ally takes aim with his specialized gear, providing cover fire to initiate the chaos. A massive burst of energy erupts, scattering the herd and forcing them into a frenzy. This oxen let out a deafening roar, their aggression peaking as the real battle begins. This herd charges forward with terrifying momentum, their horns glowing with a lethal pulsing energy. Jiran shouts a warning, his specialized gear ready to provide the necessary tactical support. Jinquan hunkers down behind a stone formation, trusting his defenses to withstand the incoming shockwave. A massive tremor ripples through the ground as the oxen unleash their signature earth-sealing ability. Debris flies everywhere, but the duo remains positioned to capitalize on the chaos of battle. Jinquan realizes that following his partner's advice was the only thing keeping him from disaster. Jiran notes that the beasts are momentarily vulnerable while their energy reserves are recharging. This herd continues their relentless advance, unaware that their window of opportunity is rapidly closing. Jinquan seizes the moment, channeling his power into a devastating, wide-reaching strike across the field. His blade of ruin carves through the air, cutting down the charging oxen in one motion. Jinquan tears through the herd with a lethal, sweeping strike that leaves no room for error. This oxen are caught completely off guard as he weaves through their ranks with ease. His companion watches in disbelief, realizing that even with his own elite background, he is outclassed. Jinquan moves with such terrifying efficiency that he makes the entire encounter look like child's play. The sheer intensity of his combat prowess leaves his ally struggling to process what he witnessed. A system notification confirms Jinquan has hit level 29, marking another massive milestone in his journey. His partner admits he was ready to intervene, but Jinquan handled the entire herd solo. They discuss the local wildlife, confirming that this particular group lacks a powerful leader. This focus shifts to the loot, as the fallen beasts contain valuable materials for detoxification. Harvesting these rare items promises a significant payout, proving the hunt was well worth the effort. With the oxen defeated, the duo realizes they have secured a small fortune in loot, but the lingering scent of blood forces them to move quickly before more predators arrive. Jinquan remains focused on his final level up. Despite the risk of facing multiple monster types, they decide to push forward through the dangerous terrain to maximize their remaining combat time. After gathering the valuable emblems, they prepare to leave the immediate area for safer ground. This pair travels toward the central region, searching for a new high-density hunting location. Ji-ran leads the way to a mysterious refuge nest hidden deep within the earth. He explains that silver thread silkworms store their prey in underground cocoons, making them easy targets. Meanwhile, the train continues its journey through the desolate landscape toward the next destination. On board, young Master Zhu shares a drink with an associate, discussing their construction business. Zhu Jianxiong toasts to his business prospects, clearly confident that everything is going according to plan. He chats with his associate while the train cuts through the desolate landscape, oblivious to the outside. Jin Quan and his red-haired companion watch the train pass by, wondering why it arrived so far ahead. This sudden appearance of the transport catches them off guard, disrupting their quiet progress through the valley. As the train rolls past, a passenger inside catches a glimpse of the two figures standing outside. Zhao Liubai freezes in shock, his composure shattering the moment he locks eyes with the person outside. He is convinced he recognizes Jinquan. Struggling to reconcile the impossible sight of someone he thought gone, his partner demands to know what is wrong, but Zhao is too rattled to explain his sudden panic. Unable to contain his agitation, Zhao bolts toward the train door to get a closer look. He leaps out into the wilderness, only to find the tracks empty and his target completely vanished. Zhao remains completely rattled, unable to shake the feeling that he just saw a ghost. He questions his own sanity while wondering why his target hasn't returned to the district. Meanwhile, Jinquan and his partner discuss the wealthy traveler they just spotted passing by them. His companion reveals the traveler is a high-ranking heir hiding a secret, dangerous mythical profession. Suddenly, dark energy surges around them as they realize they have walked into a trap. Jinquan notices thin, glowing threads wrapping around his legs before he can even react. This invisible snare jerks him off his feet, pulling him into the air with sudden force. His partner shouts a warning about the silver thread silkworm and its incredibly fast, sticky traps. They find themselves dangling helplessly before a massive cluster of cocoons filled with previous prey. Jinquan channels his inner strength, ready to break free and claim his next major level up. Jinquan ignites his blade, determined to clear the area before the main threat returns. He lunges into the fray with explosive speed, cutting through the surrounding monster pack. His strikes land with lethal precision, systematically dismantling every creature in his immediate path. This system logs a series of high-efficiency kills, though he remains just shy of leveling. Suddenly, the environment shifts as his companion is knocked off balance by a hidden strike. His red-haired ally realizes the elusive silkworm is actively hunting them from the shadows. They scan the cavern for the creature, knowing they are currently standing in its territory. This partner warns that the thin, glowing threads are actually tripwires guarding the nest entrance. Jinquan keeps his guard up, carefully navigating the web of traps to avoid detection. He prepares for a final, decisive movement to flush out the silkworm from its lair. Jinquan focuses his energy, preparing to strike the massive silkworm lurking in the shadows. This creature lunges with dark, pulsing energy, forcing him to react with lightning speed. Its sharp appendages lash out, but he remains calm while analyzing its erratic movements. His partner shouts a warning as the beast prepares another strike, yet Jinquan stands firm, brushing off the concern. He insists on finishing this high-stakes encounter entirely on his own. He unleashes a sweeping blade technique, cutting through the silkworm's defenses with absolute lethal precision. This creature falls under his relentless assault, granting him a perfect efficiency rating for victory. With the Lord-level threat eliminated, the system finally confirms he has reached level 30. He checks his remaining advancement requirements, eager to push toward the next tier of power. His ally reveals the next target is an abyssal kamaitachi, a beast requiring a coordinated trap. This duo plans to bait a massive swarm to force open a dangerous abyss channel. Jiran expresses his deep anxiety about surviving the upcoming journey into the unknown depths. Jinquan hands over a legendary profession emblem, honoring his promise despite the uncertain road ahead. His partner is stunned by the early payment, but Jinquan insists on settling his debts. They resolve to clear one final nest before Jinquan makes his move into the abyss. Meanwhile, a group of men in suits wanders through the desolate, monster-infested cavern territory. This group wonders why the area is suspiciously quiet. Lacking the usual aggressive monster presence, one of them suddenly shouts a warning as they encounter a massive looming threat ahead. They freeze in their tracks, discovering a giant maw worm lying motionless on the cavern floor. This men realize with horror that the beast was taken down in a single strike. This men inspect the fallen creature, stunned by the sheer power behind the lethal strike. Deciding to cut their losses, they pivot toward the molten giant to salvage their mission, but they arrive only to find the massive armored titan already defeated. And lying still, disbelief sets in as they realize someone has bypassed the giant's legendary, impenetrable defensive barrier. One of them pulls out a blade to test the remains, desperate for some logical explanation. His knife barely makes a mark against the hardened, cooling exterior of the fallen titan. This realization hits them that the attacker possessed strength far beyond their current comprehension. They debate the impossible requirements needed to bring down such a beast at this tier. This leader grows visibly uneasy, noting the giant's connection to the surrounding volatile lava lake. Fearing a high-level threat is nearby, they scramble to retreat before they become the next targets. This suit-clad group debates their next move, deciding that leaving empty-handed is simply not an option. Their leader insists on pushing deeper into the cavern, ignoring the obvious risks of the territory. Meanwhile, a massive crimson tumor worm erupts from the earth. Sensing fresh prey in its domain, Jinquan doesn't hesitate, drawing his blade to meet the creature with a swift, calculated counterstrike. He tears through the worm's defenses, racking up a perfect efficiency rating as he dances around. This beast tries to overwhelm him with sheer size, but he weaves through the chaos with ease. His red-haired partner spots the true threat emerging, shouting a warning about the Crimson Tumor King. He provides tactical cover, firing a precision shot to distract the massive creature from its target. This king lets out a deafening roar, lunging forward with enough force to shatter the stone floor. Jinquan ignores the danger, charging headlong into the fray to deliver a final decisive blow. Jinquan delivers a final decisive strike that completely dismantles the massive Crimson Tumor King. This system confirms a perfect efficiency rating, though the loot drop remains disappointingly sparse. He laments how difficult it must be for average players to progress with such rates. Jiran suggests scouting ahead while Jinquan takes a moment to adjust to his power. Reaching level 30, Jinquan finally feels ready to unlock the full potential of his gear. He activates the Molten set, causing his aura to flare with intense, burning energy. This legendary armor manifests around him, radiating a heat that shifts the entire environment. His partner watches in absolute shock, clearly stunned by the sheer quality of the equipment. Jinquan reveals the gear is rated at 200 stars, far exceeding any normal expectations. Feeling his strength multiply instantly, he prepares to dominate the challenges waiting in the abyss. Jiran explains that Jinquan's stats are so high as to mask his true power. He clarifies that displaying the 100-star pattern will keep unwanted attention from their current mission. With the plan set, the duo heads deeper into the territory to find the devouring nest. They move with caution through the rugged landscape, keeping their presence hidden from any nearby threats. An hour passes as they navigate the dense, overgrown terrain toward their target location. Emerging from a cramped tunnel, they finally catch their breath while confirming they found the exit. This surrounding forest is littered with the remains of previous prey, signaling a dangerous predator nearby. Jiran identifies the area as the hunting ground of the lethal abyss sickle rat. Jinquan turns to his partner, ready to coordinate their next move against the lurking beast. His companion produces a piece of bait, preparing to lure the creature into their trap. Jiran preps a specialized mechanical device to serve as the perfect lure for their target. He explains that the local abyss sickle rats have a specific, dangerous craving for molten fruit. This duo positions the bait in a clearing, hoping to draw the elusive creature out quickly. A nearby bus sits abandoned in the woods, adding an eerie atmosphere to their high-stakes hunt. This mechanical lure stands ready, its glowing cargo acting as a beacon for any hungry predator. Jinquan and his partner retreat to a hidden vantage point. Watching the bait with intense focus, they discuss the creature's stealthy nature. Noting how difficult it is to track in this terrain, Jiran reveals that the fire element inside the fruit will force the rat to materialize. Jinquan finally understands the strategy, realizing that the bait is more than just a simple snack. They hold their breath, waiting for the trap to spring as the lure sits completely exposed. Jiran urges patience as they watch the bait, waiting for the elusive creature's arrival. A rock suddenly floats into the air, signaling the activation of the mechanical lure's power. Jinquan notices the bait disappearing, confirming the target has finally taken the bait as expected. His partner grins with confidence, knowing the real challenge is about to kick off now. This abyss sickle rat erupts from the shadows, completely engulfed in the lure's intense flames. Seeing the perfect opening, Jinquan lunges forward with explosive speed to catch the beast off guard. He channels his aura into a massive glowing projection, towering over the startled, fiery creature. With a single, decisive motion, he brings his blade down in a powerful, sweeping strike. This beast lets out a final, desperate roar as the impact sends shockwaves through the area. Jiran watches the aftermath, ready to see if their high-stakes plan actually paid off. This fiery blast engulfs the area, but the elusive target manages to slip away. Jinquan watches the flames die down. Frustrated that the creature escaped his initial strike, Jiran warns him that the sickle rat is far too clever to be caught so easily. Pulling out a specialized incendiary device, he suggests a new way to flush it out. They dash across the terrain, moving with practiced coordination to set their next trap. Finding cover just in time, they watch as the environment reacts to their clever lure. A massive sand-devouring worm erupts from the earth. Drawn by the intense spreading heat, this creature thrashes wildly in the flames, its presence revealing the hidden path nearby. Chaos erupts as the worms swarm the fire, inadvertently exposing the location of their target. Jiran explains that the fire forces the local pests to reveal the elusive sickle rat. This chaos of the fire trap forces the elusive target out of its hiding spot, revealing the abyss sickle rat as it desperately tries to escape the spreading flames. Jinquan tracks the creature's frantic movements, waiting for the perfect moment to strike it down. He lunges with incredible speed, his aura flaring as he closes the distance in seconds. Unleashing a powerful focus blade technique, he cuts through the air to intercept the beast. This rat cries out as the energy surge hits, triggering a mysterious glowing portal nearby. With a final precise blow, Jinquan secures the kill and earns a perfect efficiency rating. He quickly moves to stabilize the situation. Realizing the portal is now dangerously unstable, Jinquan warns that the creature's death has triggered an immediate collapse of the abyss gate. A dark, ominous presence emerges from the shadows, signaling that their troubles are just beginning. A mysterious, glowing portal tears through the forest. Drawing the attention of the duo, Jinquan watches the unstable gateway. Realizing that their hunt has triggered something far greater, he turns to his partner, curious about the strange energy emanating from his companion's presence. Jiran reveals his true talent, showing off a mark that connects him to the abyss. He explains his role as an abyss commander, summoning a dark bird to guard the gate. With the path now open, Jinquan decides he must face the unknown depths entirely alone. They share a final, respectful handshake, acknowledging the dangerous road that lies ahead for him. Jinquan jokes about their future plans, suggesting they start a tour group if he survives. His partner laughs at the prospect, clearly touched by the camaraderie they have built together. They exchange a final farewell, knowing that every journey must eventually come to an end. Jiran offers a final, calm farewell before parting ways with his companion. Jinquan steps forward, crossing the threshold into the swirling violet energy of the abyss. He reflects on the uncertainty of their future, knowing their paths may never cross. A sudden shimmering light catches his attention as he prepares for his solo journey. He discovers a rare lucky gold coin, a special accessory designed to boost loot drops. Examining the mysterious trinket, Jinquan wonders if this newfound luck will actually change his fortunes. He studies the intricate markings on the coin, sensing the potential power hidden within it. Realizing that fortune favors the bold, he ignites his aura to test his improved capabilities. Spotting a group of aggressive creatures, he decides to put his new gear to work. He charges into the fray, ready to dominate the beasts and claim whatever rewards await. Jinquan triggers a lucky lava splash, turning the tide against his aggressive beastly opponents. He notes how the increased luck stat makes his combat efficiency feel noticeably smoother. Wasting no time, he dashes toward his next objective with renewed, focused intensity, checking his map. He confirms the location of the resentful spider matriarch's lair. This icy, cavernous nest looms ahead, filled with frozen remnants of past encounters. Jinquan observes the grand scale of this level 39 monster's frozen domain. Meanwhile, a group of opportunists admires the icy sculptures, treating the danger like art. One of them brags about his construction background, planning to repurpose the carnage for decor. Their leader, Ju, plots to exploit the upcoming battle for his own social gain. Unaware of the true threat, they prepare to hunt a legend untouched for centuries. This group questions why Jifei skipped this mission, but his brother dismisses the concern. They figure the high-tier experts avoid this dimension, leaving the path clear for their ambitions. Their leader demands total focus on the upcoming hunt for the resentful spider matriarch first. With the goal set, he signals for his team to prepare the resources for battle. He rounds up a group of disposable laborers, treating them like mere tools for survival. These unfortunate souls are shoved toward the cave entrance to act as the first line. They march into the freezing darkness, unaware they are walking straight into a deadly trap. This leader orders his remaining men to hold the line while he orchestrates the chaos. Suddenly, the matriarch erupts from the shadows, its massive form radiating a terrifying dark energy. This creature prepares to unleash its power, eager to hunt those who disturbed its domain. Jinquan dives straight into the fray, his blade glowing with a lethal, focused energy. He unleashes a series of rapid strikes that force the massive creature to recoil. This intensity of his combat style leaves no room for the beast to counterattack. A nearby observer watches in awe, recognizing the sheer power of his legendary class. Jinquan thrives in the heat of battle, his movements becoming faster and more aggressive. He closes the distance, ready to land a decisive blow against the dark entity. With a powerful leap, he strikes at the heart of the monster's defensive barrier. This onlookers realize the true scale of the threat they have foolishly stumbled upon. This resentful spider matriarch fully emerges, its presence chilling the air of the cavern. Jinquan stands his ground, fully prepared to face the legendary boss in single combat. Jinquan arrives right on cue, his aura flaring as he prepares to dominate the massive spider. He toys with the beast, effortlessly dodging its strikes while closing the distance with lethal intent. With a swift, calculated movement, he slices through the creature's defenses to land a clean hit. This spider lashes out in desperation, but Jinquan remains untouchable. Dancing through the air with ease, he mocks the monster's lack of strength, demanding that its impenetrable shell finally give way. Channeling his full power into a single crushing blow, he forces the matriarch to retreat. This cavern shakes as he unleashes a wave of energy, pushing the beast back into the shadows. Standing amidst the freezing mist, he prepares to deliver the final strike to end this hunt. Meanwhile, a teammate calls out to Zhu Jianzhong. Realizing the situation has spiraled completely out of control, this matriarch lets out a final, chilling roar, its crystalline armor shattering under the immense pressure. Jinquan revels in the thrill of the hunt, his aura burning with intense, focused energy. This matriarch lets out a deafening roar, struggling against the overwhelming pressure of his assault. Meanwhile, the hired help tries to provide cover, firing their weapons into the chaotic fray. Their desperate attempts to suppress the beast only add to the inferno consuming the cavern. Jinquan leaps through the flames, his blade poised to deliver a strike of absolute precision. He unleashes a devastating technique, channeling his full strength into a single, lethal downward swing. This impact tears through the creature's defenses, shattering its crystalline armor with a violent shockwave. This massive spider collapses under the force of the blow, its long-standing reign finally ending. Jinquan lands firmly, unimpressed by the legendary threat that had terrorized the area for centuries. He declares his superiority, proving that the new generation has far surpassed the old legends. Jinquan stands before the defeated beast, expecting a massive haul of legendary loot, but his frustration boils over when he realizes the reward is just two measly emblems. This massive creature lies still while the surrounding group watches the anticlimactic end of the fight. Zhu Jianzhong scolds his subordinate for being naive, pointing out they only fought a minor gatekeeper. He smiles with a sinister edge, knowing the true target and the real competition haven't arrived. Those pathetic blue tokens bounce uselessly across the ice, mocking the group's high expectations. Jinquan kicks the remains in disgust, still fuming over the complete lack of decent drops. A panicked team member realizes their intel was wrong and this was only a Frost Guardian. This realization hits the group like a freight train that they are in the wrong territory. Chaos erupts as they scramble to flee, terrified that the actual domain lord is nearby. Jinquan unleashes a massive shockwave, clearing the immediate path of the panicked, fleeing crowd. This true domain lord looms over the cavern, its crystalline form radiating a lethal, dark energy. Swarms of spiders descend from the ceiling, trapping the remaining opportunists in a hopeless nightmare. Meanwhile, Jinquan tracks the location of the rare clear resentment flower, moving with calculated, silent precision. He studies his map, fully aware that rival groups are already scrambling for the same prize. Realizing the elemental hazards ahead, he decides to leverage his molten lava gear for the advantage. He dives into the dark, cavernous depths, ready to confront whatever horrors await inside the nest. Glowing red eyes stare back at him from the shadows, signaling that the hunt has begun. A confident smirk crosses his face. As he sizes up the massive, encroaching swarm of monsters, he ignites his aura, viewing the entire deadly legion as nothing more than easy experience points. This massive spider lets out a piercing roar, signaling its intent to crush everything nearby. Jinquan effortlessly dismantles the beast's defenses, mocking its lack of real power or skill. A single devastating strike sends the creature reeling as its crystalline armor begins to crack. Meanwhile, the terrified group of opportunists watches in horror as their survival chances rapidly vanish. Panic sets in among the survivors, who realize they are completely out of their depth. A pair of mercenaries steps up to protect their employer, promising to clear a path. One of them readies a heavy explosive, hoping to create an opening in the chaos. This blast erupts against the monster, briefly stunning it with a flash of intense light. They urge their companion to run while the beast is momentarily distracted by the attack. But the danger is far from over, as a sudden warning rings out across the field. This massive creature lets out a deafening roar, shaking the resolve of the remaining onlookers. It unleashes a concentrated blast of energy, turning the battlefield into a chaotic death trap. This group scrambles in terror as the lethal projectiles tear through their defensive lines. Shock registers on their faces as they realize their survival is hanging by a thread. Suddenly, a new combatant enters the fray, moving with blinding speed to intercept the beast. He delivers a precise, high-impact strike that forces the monster to recoil in surprise, urging his companion to move. He takes command of the situation with absolute cold confidence. He summons a heavy-duty mountain tank, creating a massive barrier to shield them from harm. This mechanical construct absorbs the creature's assault, proving its worth against the overwhelming dark energy. This observers watch in disbelief, finally recognizing the true power of a legendary class. Panic sets in as the realization hits that this mission was a massive, lethal mistake. Desperate survivors scramble to escape, abandoning their gear in a frantic attempt to survive. This massive creature descends, its roar echoing through the cavern as it targets the group. Some are caught in crystalline traps, left helpless while the monster closes in for good. A sudden counterattack slices through the air, forcing the beast to shift its focus away. Energy surges as the newcomer engages. Moving with a speed that defies the freezing environment, he shatters the ice with a single, precise strike, proving his strength against the local threat, wielding his weapon with expert control. He clears a path through the encroaching, dark shadows. His companion joins the fray, her presence adding a new layer of intensity to the battle. This ground begins to tremble, signaling that something even more dangerous lurks beneath their feet. Jinquan unleashes a massive shockwave, clearing the immediate path of the panicked, fleeing crowd. This true domain lord looms over the cavern, its crystalline form radiating a lethal, dark energy. swarms of spiders descend from the ceiling, trapping the remaining opportunists in a hopeless nightmare. Meanwhile, Jinquan tracks the location of the rare clear resentment flower, moving with calculated, silent precision. He studies his map, fully aware that rival groups are already scrambling for the same prize. Realizing the elemental hazards ahead, he decides to leverage his molten lava gear for the advantage. He dives into the dark, cavernous depths, ready to confront whatever horrors wait inside the nest. Glowing red eyes stare back at him from the shadows, signaling that the hunt has begun. A confident smirk crosses his face as he sizes up the massive, encroaching swarm of monsters. He ignites his aura, viewing the entire deadly legion as nothing more than easy experience points. A sudden brutal strike sends the target sprawling across the frozen cavern floor. He barely has time to register the attack before the next blow connects. This dark entity looms over its prey, mocking him with a promise of suffering. Shadows lash out with lethal intent, pinning the man down in a crushing display. Meanwhile, a cold observer watches the chaos unfold, clearly unimpressed by the ongoing struggle. Two survivors manage to break away, sprinting across the icy terrain to find safety. Their pursuers pause to assess the situation, wondering if these targets are worth the effort, deciding that orders must be followed. They split up to hunt down the escapees. A powerful, decisive strike eliminates the Woodvine Spider Lord in a single motion. This system confirms the victory, rewarding the effort with rare blueprints for powerful gear. Jinquan stands amidst the frozen carnage, his blade still humming with lethal residual energy. He hears a desperate plea for help echoing through the cavern's icy, desolate halls. Turning his gaze toward the sound, he spots a survivor fleeing from certain doom. A massive, purple-hued swarm of spiders surges forward, intent on claiming their next victim. Without a second thought, Jinquan lunges into the fray with his signature, blinding speed. He unleashes a ruinous slash, carving a path of destruction through the encroaching, dark legion. The sheer force of his technique obliterates the front line in a brilliant blue flash. A system notification confirms he has taken down a high-level ice spider with perfect efficiency. This survivor stares in absolute shock, struggling to comprehend the raw power he just witnessed. Jinquan remains unfazed, calmly checking on the man while the magical flames continue to burn. This survivor expresses his gratitude, clearly stunned by the carnage Jinquan left in his wake. Jinquan remains focused on his objective, coldly dismissing any opposition that dares to cross him. Realizing the sheer power at play, the survivor decides that sticking close is his best bet. He begs to follow Jinquan, offering his services in exchange for a shred of protection. Jinquan leans in with a sharp remark, reminding him that pride has no place here. He suddenly unleashes a massive focused energy beam that tears across the frozen landscape. This survivor is caught completely off guard by the sudden violent shift in the atmosphere. Jinquan moves with terrifying precision, making it clear that he has zero patience for sycophants. A powerful strike connects, leaving the survivor reeling from the sheer intensity of the blow. Shock washes over the man as he realizes he completely misjudged the nature of his savior. Jinquan stands his ground as the massive spider swarm closes in on their position. These crystalline beasts descend with lethal intent, turning the cavern into a hunting ground. While the survivor panics, Jinquan steps forward to handle the threat with cold efficiency. He leaps into the air, his blade glowing with a dark and dangerous energy. Warning the others not to interfere, he prepares to unleash his full combat potential, this demonic wing. Three-stage slash tears through the air, carving into the swarm. His aura flares with intensity, showing no mercy to the creatures surrounding the group. He weaves through the massive limbs of the spiders, striking with surgical, lethal precision. Each movement is calculated to maximize damage while keeping the monsters completely off balance. Jinquan dismantles the front line of the Legion, proving that he is the true predator. Jinquan unleashes a powerful shockwave, clearing the frozen battlefield with a single decisive motion. He realizes the Frost Guardians are no match for his blade, cutting through them easily. A rare Solar Judgment emblem drops, granting him a devastating new Molten Lava combat skill, leveling up to 35. He credits his lucky coin for the high-tier loot drop. He immediately activates the emblem, preparing to integrate its power into his existing arsenal, confirming the conversion. He upgrades his basic swordsmanship into a far more lethal demon technique. This cavern trembles as a massive dark presence reveals itself from the deep shadows. Urx, the Lord of the Evil Blade, emerges to challenge him while holding a captive. This terrifying entity boasts about his strength, ready to execute the angel before his eyes. Jinquan prepares to strike, determined to shatter the false power of this arrogant Dark Lord. Jinquan unleashes the devastating Urk's judgment, flooding the cavern with a blinding lethal energy. This sheer intensity of the technique leaves his enemies completely overwhelmed and disoriented. He pauses to process the sudden influx of memories, questioning the dark history behind this power. This system confirms the legendary status of the skill, highlighting its ability to induce absolute terror. His companion watches in awe, finally realizing the true, terrifying potential of his new ability, clearly relieved. The man celebrates his choice to follow such an incredibly powerful combatant. Jinquan remains focused on the mission, warning his ally to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. They press forward through the frozen wasteland, only to spot mysterious figures looming in the distance. This duo halts abruptly, trying to identify the strangers blocking their path through the ice. Realizing they aren't being pursued by monsters, they prepare to confront the unexpected arrivals. Jinquan realizes the ground beneath them is a deceptive, hidden snare. A sudden violent reaction forces him to dodge as the floor erupts. Tentacles lash out from the depths, dragging the unsuspecting men into the cold. He barely manages to draw his blade, narrowly avoiding a lethal entanglement. With a swift, precise motion, he severs the grasping vines to break free. This dark, viscous energy of the creature dissipates as his strike connects cleanly. He lands safely, quickly checking the status of his companion in the chaos. His ally gasps in relief, realizing how close they came to a total disaster. Tension spikes as they suddenly find themselves held at blade point by mysterious arrivals. This stranger's demand they freeze, turning the rescue into a tense, dangerous standoff. This standoff intensifies as the mysterious man demands to know if they value their lives, his cold demeanor making it clear that he holds all the cards in this situation. This panicked captives realize they are dealing with someone far more dangerous than they expected. He presses them for the truth about their mission and who actually sent them here. They spill the beans, admitting they were hired by the Black Dragon Gang to monitor targets. Specifically, they were tasked with keeping the wealthy train passengers away from the mine slaves. When pushed for the mastermind behind this scheme, they scream out the name in terror. It turns out the Shengwei conglomerate and the Fang family are pulling the strings from behind. This realization hits that these powerful groups are likely hunting for the mysterious rare emblem. Satisfied with the intel, he prepares to unleash his power and finalize their grim fate. This terrified captives beg for their lives, swearing their intel on the conspiracy is absolute. But Jinquan decides to cut their involvement short with a swift and decisive energy strike, leaving them stunned as they realize he has spared them instead of ending their journey. He even casts a healing spell to mend their injuries, leaving the men completely bewildered. Jinquan sends them back with a cold warning to deliver a message to their masters. This survivors scramble away in disbelief, grateful to have escaped his overwhelming and lethal aura. His companion questions the wisdom of letting them go. Fearing they will expose his identity, Jinquan just smirks, knowing that letting them spread rumors will only ignite chaos between families. He turns his attention back to the hunt, engaging a massive spider with fluid motion. This system confirms the elimination of the gluttony spider as he dominates the frozen cavern. Jinquan presses forward, intent on hunting down the resentment spider matriarch. Despite the mounting danger, his companion is clearly rattled by the target. Questioning the sanity of chasing such a monster, Jinquan coldly offers him an exit, making it perfectly clear that he has no need for dead weight. Realizing he is completely helpless alone, the man decides that sticking to Jinquan is his only hope. He quickly pivots to sycophancy, boasting about his utility as a priest with a unique stacking talent. Jinquan remains unimpressed, cutting straight to the point by asking if the man hails from the upper city. This priest explains his background, revealing he was scouted for his S-rank talent at a young age. He admits his high level was artificially inflated by conglomerate arenas, leaving him stuck before a breakthrough. Jinquan probes for more information, curious about the mechanics behind this so-called class breakthrough. This man reveals the dark truth, explaining how elites use altars to force monster power into themselves. This priest explains that fusing monster essence into the human body triggers a powerful class breakthrough. Jinquan presses for details on the altars, learning they serve as exclusive totems for major legions. These massive structures are tightly controlled by elite empires, leaving the lower city completely without access. Obtaining a rare legion token is the only path to power, yet only 5 exist in the empire. He lists the dominant factions, including Flying Eagle, Vanguard, Jixi, Shengwei, and the powerful Tianhe organization. Fortunately, a rare spirit bead dropped by powerful monsters offers an alternative path to achieving this breakthrough. Jinquan accepts the priest's company, keeping him close as they venture deeper into the frozen landscape. They soon spot a dark, ominous entrance ahead, signaling that their journey is far from over. Suddenly, Jinquan senses movement. Realizing that more creatures are lying in wait to ambush them again, this priest prepares to support him with magical light, bracing for the inevitable clash in the dark. A massive shadow spider emerges as a domain lord, looming over the frozen cavern floor. This priest panics at the sight of such a high-tier monster, but Jinquan remains calm, brushing off the threat as minor. He prepares his blade for a quick, decisive strike. While the priest struggles to grasp how someone could view a domain lord so dismissively, Jinquan lunges forward with blinding speed, closing the distance before the beast can even react. His strike connects with lethal precision, instantly dismantling the creature and securing a high-efficiency kill. A dark, pulsating energy orb manifests from the wreckage, drawing Jinquan's immediate and intense focus. He examines the mysterious object, wondering about the nature of this strange newfound power source. This priest identifies it as a rare shadow bead, stunned by Jinquan's incredible, unexplained luck. Their conversation is cut short as a booming voice echoes, signaling a new, dangerous arrival. Jinquan lunges to save his companion, narrowly pulling him away from a sudden violent impact. This force of the blast sends them both tumbling across the frozen, unforgiving cavern floor. Dust settles as the two men scramble to find their footing in the eerie silence. Jinquan scans the horizon, his sharp eyes picking up a strange, glowing presence ahead. A mysterious, pale silhouette stands amidst the mist, radiating an aura of pure, predatory hunger. This entity reveals herself with a chilling remark, clearly viewing them as nothing more than prey. Her mask slips to show a terrifying, distorted grin that confirms her monstrous lethal intent. She summons a massive armored spider to do her bidding, revealing her true high-level status. This priest recognizes the beast, his voice trembling as he realizes the magnitude of their danger. He warns Jinquan that this matriarch can endlessly revive her swarm, making her a nightmare to defeat. Jinquan charges forward with reckless confidence, eager to test his strength against the looming matriarch. But the matriarch counters with a massive surge of energy that catches him completely off guard. He finds himself swept up in a violent vortex, struggling to maintain his footing against her. This sheer force of her technique tears through the cavern, pushing him back with overwhelming pressure. His companion watches in horror, realizing that even Jinquan is struggling to hold his own ground. This energy blast erupts in a blinding display, threatening to consume everything in its immediate path. This matriarch mocks his efforts, dismissing him as a mere insect unworthy of her full attention. Jinquan is sent flying through the air, barely managing to recover before hitting the frozen ground. He grins despite the setback, acknowledging that this opponent is far more dangerous than he anticipated. Quickly adapting, he summons the nether statue to shield himself from the matriarch's relentless, crushing assault. Jinquan narrowly avoids a lethal strike. Realizing the matriarch can liquefy her form to evade, she unleashes a barrage of piercing energy beams, forcing him into a desperate, high-speed dance. This matriarch tracks his movements with predatory focus, clearly impressed by his unnatural reaction time. Jinquan suddenly shifts his strategy, launching a surprise assault that catches the monster completely off guard. His blade slices through her defenses, forcing the matriarch to recoil in genuine startled shock. He maintains the momentum, driving her back with a relentless display of raw kinetic power. Jinquan wears a confident smirk, realizing this supposed boss is far more vulnerable than anticipated. This cavern floor erupts in a massive surge of water, signaling a sudden chaotic environmental shift. He scans the rising tide, trying to discern the matriarch's next move amidst the swirling debris. His companion cries out in alarm, warning him that the matriarch is manipulating the liquid battlefield. Jinquan channels his energy, preparing to strike back against the liquid menace surrounding him. His companion screams a desperate warning to catch the matriarch while she is vulnerable. Realizing the monster is using a clever evasion tactic to avoid his lethal blade, he pivots mid-air, dodging a wave of liquid energy with incredible practiced agility. A wild grin spreads across his face as the thrill of the fight takes over. This matriarch suddenly traps him in a massive, crushing grip of pressurized water. Jinquan realizes the situation has turned dire as the pressure begins to mount. Sharp projectiles of solidified water lash out, threatening to pierce his defenses entirely. He grunts in pain, struggling to maintain his focus while being squeezed by the torrent. With a final explosive burst of power, he shatters the watery cage to break free. Jinquan shatters the watery prison, sending shockwaves through the cavern as he breaks free. This matriarch sneers, clearly annoyed that her little trap failed to hold him down. She looms over him with a predatory grin, convinced that he has nowhere left to run. With a wave of her hand, she summons a massive swarm of spiders to overwhelm him. Jinquan just laughs, feeling the surge of power as he prepares to face the entire horde. This matriarch orders her minions to finish him off, watching with cold, calculating eyes. Jinquan stands his ground, radiating a lethal aura that forces the incoming spiders to hesitate. He unleashes a devastating counterattack, cutting through the swarm with terrifying, fluid precision. This matriarch watches in disbelief as her supposedly unstoppable army is dismantled in seconds. Jinquan lunges for the kill, turning the tables on the monster who thought he was prey. Jinquan reveals his struggle was a calculated ruse to draw the matriarch out of hiding, launching a high-speed strike that catches the monster completely off guard with his hidden strength. His blade cuts through the air, closing the distance before she can even mount defenses. This matriarch realizes too late that her perceived advantage was actually a trap for her. A decisive blow lands, effectively ending her reign of terror within the frozen cavern depths. She screams in disbelief as her form begins to crumble under his overwhelming, precise power. This massive creature collapses, her influence over the swarm vanishing as she meets her end. His companion watches in total shock, realizing Jinquan has completely outplayed such a dangerous foe. This system confirms the successful elimination of the high-level target, rewarding him with massive experience. A legendary necklace drops from the wreckage, marking the final lucrative conclusion to this hunt. Jinquan examines the legendary emblem, clearly pleased with his unexpected and high-value haul. A brilliant light erupts as a rare item manifests from the defeated creature's remains. This system identifies the prize as a legendary legion token, pulsating with raw energy. Jinquan stares in disbelief, realizing he has secured the exact tool needed for power. His companion loses his composure entirely, stunned by the sheer rarity of these combined drops. Jinquan immediately accepts the system prompt, binding the token to himself without a second thought. This artifact merges into his arm, marking his new status as a Legion commander. This system details the massive benefits, including stat boosts and global trade for his members. Jinquan recognizes the token as a guild creation tool, noting its potential to incite conflict. He prepares to test his new authority as the cavern lights up with sudden intensity. Jinquan recognizes the legendary red item as a pinnacle artifact mentioned by his past rival. This system identifies the glowing scroll and crystal as rare, high-tier loot from the battle. He studies the floating objects, realizing he has stumbled upon something truly game-changing for his future. A sudden prompt appears, offering him total ownership of the entire Pit 1 dungeon area. Without hesitation, he confirms the selection to see exactly what kind of power he unlocked. Blue energy surges through the cavern as the system grants him absolute authority over the domain. He feels a strange, overwhelming connection, sensing he could manipulate the entire space with one thought. His focus shifts when a mysterious glowing red flower manifests in the center of the room. Jinquan stares in shock, recognizing the rare, dangerous bloom that has suddenly appeared before his eyes. This system confirms it is a powerful cleansing flower paired with a rare vengeful god bead. Jinquan realizes the flower is actually a spirit resentment variant, hinting at a higher evolution. He shows the rare bead to the priest, noting the creature's unexpected power level increase, offering the priest a chance to finally achieve his long-awaited class breakthrough with this item. This priest is stunned to see Jinquan hit level 39 after taking down that massive boss. Explaining the limitations of his profession, the priest admits he needs a teammate's blood bond. Jinquan questions if this makes his path a dead end, but learns about special support emblems. This priest reveals he can bypass the restriction by borrowing blood from a compatible teammate. Without hesitation, the priest offers his own blood to help Jinquan secure the necessary connection. Jinquan accepts the offer, ready to finalize the bond and push his own limits further. He prepares to seal the pact, feeling the surge of energy ready to transform him. Golden energy erupts as the system initiates the binding process for the mysterious artifact. Jinquan channels the raw power into his palm, solidifying the cube's unstable, glowing essence. This energy surges through his body, confirming the successful merge of the powerful relic. His companion watches in awe as Jinquan prepares to use the cube to trigger the altar. Dropping into a low stance, Jinquan slams the cube against the frozen ground with force. This ice beneath them begins to tremble, reacting violently to the activation of the relic. Massive cracks spiderweb across the cavern floor as the environment shifts to reveal hidden depths, dust, and debris clear away, exposing a path that was previously concealed from their view. They stand before the ancient towering altar, finally uncovering the secret location they were seeking. Jinquan steps forward with grim determination, ready to test the altar's true, hidden potential. Jinquan and his companion stand before the altar, only to be interrupted by a sudden arrival. A massive, oversized toad crashes onto the scene, shaking the very foundations of the room. This creature demands a hefty toll of 500 spirit crystals to proceed with the breakthrough. Jinquan stares at the prompt in disbelief, wondering how such a steep price is even possible. His companion admits he is completely broke. Noting that standard breakthroughs usually cost only 2 crystals, they realize they are stuck in a bind, with neither of them possessing the required currency. Jinquan pivots to a more aggressive strategy. Remembering a group of wealthy young masters nearby, he decides to track them down, planning to liberate the necessary crystals from their deep pockets. Dark energy ripples outward as he scans the surrounding area for any signs of life. A sinister grin spreads across his face as he confirms 4 potential targets are nearby. Jinquan tells his companion to pack up the altar and follow him out, but they are immediately confronted by Li Hongbin, who eyes the spirit bead. Jinquan doesn't hesitate to demand the loot, showing he has zero fear of them. This arrogant young masters mock his background. Questioning how he even reached this level, Jinquan brushes off their insults, clearly unimpressed by their high and mighty attitude toward him. They start lecturing him on family rules and potential disqualifications for the assessment. Jinquan stares them down, his patience wearing thin as they continue their condescending talk. He snaps back, telling them that acting like a superior ancestor doesn't suit them. This lackeys realize Jinquan is about to strike and scramble to warn their leader. Jinquan unleashes his dark aura, making it clear that the bead is staying his. Jinquan forces his opponents to scatter as he initiates a sudden, aggressive counter-offensive. This arrogant young master scoffs at the attempt, dismissing Jinquan's efforts as pure delusion. Massive shockwaves tear through the frozen terrain, signaling the start of a brutal confrontation. Meanwhile, his companion watches from the sidelines, wisely choosing to stay out of the fray. Jinquan lunges forward with lethal intent, his focus locked entirely on the precious spirit bead. His rival remains obsessed with his own breakthrough, blind to the danger closing in fast. A chain weapon whistles through the air, narrowly missing its target as the skirmish intensifies. Jinquan catches the incoming strike with his bare hand, showing off his superior physical conditioning. He turns the tables on his attacker, delivering a swift response that catches them off guard. This young master is sent reeling, his confidence shattered by Jinquan's overwhelming and precise power. Jinquan sends his opponent crashing into the frozen ground with a single decisive movement. This arrogant young master desperately clings to the spirit bead, refusing to let it go. While Jinquan and his companion identify the fallen man as a high-ranking priest, this defeated rival admits he severely underestimated Jinquan's true strength during their brief clash. He laments his ruined plans for a breakthrough, realizing his ambition has led to total disaster. Jinquan mocks the Li family for sending a low-tier combatant to handle such a dangerous assessment. This priest reveals he was sent to retrieve a lost high-dimensional emblem from this very pit. He warns that the ruthless Li Hongyu is waiting outside and will show no mercy. Jinquan begins to suspect that the mysterious emblem he already possesses is the very target, and the realization hits them both that they are now in the crosshairs of a monster. Jinquan calls out into the frozen waste, sensing he is being watched by hidden eyes. This lackeys panic as they realize their stealthy observation has been compromised by his sharp senses. He demands they step out into the open, forcing the group to reveal their true positions. Jinquan stands firm with his companion, ready to face the Li family members head-on. He brushes off their presence with a casual remark, though his dark aura tells a different story. His subordinates recognize his terrifying reputation, whispering warnings to their leader about his lethal history. Their leader orders them to stand down, clearly wary of the power Jinquan radiates. This arrogant noble tries to intimidate him by mentioning the threats they have been discussing. Jinquan remains completely unfazed, dismissing their petty schemes and their talk of high-level traps. He learns the grim truth that Li Hongyu is hunting everyone leaving the pit, regardless of innocence. This stranger approaches Jinquan with a proposition, hoping to strike a deal for mutual benefit, but Jinquan remains rightfully skeptical, questioning why he should ever trust a complete unknown. This man dangles a tempting carrot, claiming he knows exactly where to find Jiran. This revelation hits Jinquan hard, as the location of his target is his primary concern. Their tense standoff is suddenly interrupted when a massive swarm of creatures begins to approach. This ground shakes as the insects descend, drawn in by the lingering scent of recent combat. Panic ripples through the group as they realize they are now surrounded by a hostile force. Jinquan doesn't waste a second, drawing his blade to cut a path through the encroaching swarm. His system confirms a successful takedown of an elite guard, rewarding his lethal efficiency in battle. This stranger watches in stunned silence, clearly unnerved by the sheer speed and power of Jinquan. Jinquan unleashes a devastating strike, tearing through the swarm with his signature ruinous blade. His overwhelming power leaves the encroaching insects in pieces, clearing the path instantly. This onlookers are left speechless, unable to process the sheer efficiency of his lethal technique. He stands amidst the aftermath, his focus shifting back to the mysterious man approaching him. This stranger applauds his performance, clearly impressed by the display of raw, unchecked combat ability. Trying to smooth things over, the man proposes a formal alliance to secure their survival. He promises enough spirit crystals for a breakthrough, plus a hefty fee for his services. Jinquan accepts the deal but adds a sharp condition, demanding the man share his secrets. He points toward the specific techniques he wants to learn, showing no interest in game. This man's companion realizes the gravity of the situation, calling out to his leader nervously. This mysterious man suggests Jinquan track him down later, hinting at a deeper connection between them. He flicks a ring, signaling the start of their transaction with a display of casual wealth. Suddenly, a massive pile of 500 spirit crystals manifests, leaving Jinquan's companion in total shock. This sheer financial power displayed by the stranger suggests he is a high-ranking young master. Jinquan wastes no time, immediately pivoting the conversation to the whereabouts of his mentor Jiran. This stranger explains Jiran's tragic history with the death god flower and his subsequent class regression. Jinquan reacts with alarm, questioning if his mentor was forced to enter the dangerous abyss. This man clarifies that Jiran chose his own path, offering Jinquan a chance to catch up. Jinquan reveals his true goal is finding a way to reverse the effects of class regression. Realizing the stakes, they immediately set off together, moving with urgency toward their next destination. This cave begins to shift violently as the energy field reacts to the recent events. Jinquan realizes the dimensional space is destabilizing due to the crystal recognizing a new master. He warns his group that they need to escape before Li Hongyu intercepts them outside. Jinquan decides to use this chaotic situation to test his newly acquired, overwhelming power. His companion suggests they prioritize a breakthrough first to ensure they have enough strength. They quickly relocate to an abandoned miner camp that offers a more stable environment. Arriving at the site, they prepare to initiate the process. While a guardian watches, Zhao begins to channel his energy, focusing intensely on the required breakthrough technique. This ritual consumes the 500 spirit crystals, triggering a massive surge of purple energy as the light fades. The breakthrough succeeds, leaving them ready to face the coming storm. Jinquan feels the intense surge of power as his internal energy begins to rapidly evolve. A towering, spectral manifestation of his combat spirit looms behind him with terrifying, dark intensity. Monstrous creatures swarm the area, but they are no match for the overwhelming pressure he radiates. He dismisses the remnant thoughts of his enemies with a cold, sharp look of pure disdain. With a single, decisive swing of his blade, he tears through the fabric of the battlefield. The surrounding space collapses into a swirling vortex, pulling all remaining threats into the void. Jinquan centers himself within the chaotic energy, refining his newfound strength through a focused, meditative state. His status updates as he officially hits level 40, solidifying his rank as a powerful swordsman. Meanwhile, his ally successfully completes his own advancement, reaching the rank of a radiant priest. This pair stands ready at the exit, fully prepared to confront whatever awaits them outside. This observer realizes Jinquan's rank 4 power is far more dangerous than he initially anticipated. Jinquan channels his newfound energy, his eyes glowing with a cold and focused intensity. He unleashes a swift, precise strike that cuts through the air with lethal, practiced grace. This sheer force of his movement leaves a trail of destruction across the training ground. His companion celebrates his own successful breakthrough, eager to put his upgraded support skills into action. This mysterious man warns them that the real challenge is waiting just beyond the exit. He confirms that the eldest young master of the Li family is lying in wait. Jinquan embraces the incoming conflict, his dark aura flaring as he prepares for a confrontation. They approach the train station, knowing the Li family is likely watching every possible escape route. Stepping onto the platform, they remain hyper-alert, ready to face whatever trap has been set. Jinquan confronts the remaining associates, demanding to know the whereabouts of their missing group members. A woman questions the lack of backup, clearly sensing that something has gone terribly wrong. Her companion dismisses the concern, insisting they are the only ones left to handle business. Jinquan and his ally prepare for the next leg of their journey. Ignoring the surrounding tension, they board the train, leaving the frozen wasteland behind as they head toward their next objective. Back at the base, a senior member observes the empty room. Realizing Jinquan has vanished, he contemplates the situation, wondering if the kid has finally decided to abandon his post. Suddenly, a commotion erupts as a bucket of water is thrown, startling everyone in the room. This senior member turns around, shocked to see Jinquan standing there, looking completely unbothered by the chaos. Jin Quan wastes no time, coldly demanding that they hand over the items he came to retrieve. Jin Quan presses the senior for answers, his cold demeanor leaving no room for excuses. This man tries to deflect by describing his excavation of a hidden mechanical repair shop, but Jin Quan isn't buying the act, calling out the impossibility of his supposed qualifications. This senior insists he only wanted the rare flower and knows nothing about the emblem. Jin Quan reveals photographic proof of the man's true activities, shattering his flimsy cover story. He demands the stolen item immediately, his patience for these petty games finally running out. This cornered man suddenly lunges with a hidden blade, hoping to catch Jin Quan off guard, but the attack fails miserably as Jin Quan effortlessly shuts down the desperate amateurish strike. He delivers a swift, crushing blow that sends the senior flying across the cramped room, leaving his companion stunned as the true extent of the conflict finally comes to light. This senior tries to resist, but Jin Quan is already finished with his pathetic, desperate games. A massive surge of dimensional energy erupts, signaling the arrival of the transport train. This heavy vehicle tears through the rift, cutting a path through the unstable, swirling void. Li Hongyu stands waiting on the tracks, his cold gaze fixed on the incoming transport. Jin Quan steps off the train, his presence immediately shifting the atmosphere of the entire platform. This train grinds to a halt, leaving the Li family forces to face their unexpected guest. A subordinate watches in disbelief, clearly rattled by the sudden appearance of their primary target. Li Hongyu demands to know why the third young master is lingering at this specific location. He is genuinely stunned, questioning how Jin Quan managed to escape a dimension that remains firmly locked. Jin Quan just smirks, revealing he has found a way to bypass their rules and move freely. Jin Quan cuts straight to the point, demanding the Li family hand over all their spatial gear. This arrogant noble snaps back, surrounding himself with crackling energy while threatening Jin Quan's life. He orders his lackeys to swarm the target, but they are sent flying before they can react. Jin Quan moves with lethal intent, closing the distance instantly to deliver a crushing, decisive strike. This impact sends shockwaves through the platform, completely overwhelming the noble's defensive formation. His subordinates are sent tumbling through the air, leaving the noble stunned by such raw defiance. Furious at being challenged by someone he deems inferior, the noble lunges forward with a desperate attack. Jin Quan effortlessly deflects the assault, shattering the surrounding stone as he counters with overwhelming force. Mocking the noble's lack of real skill, he prepares to finish the fight with a single blow. This confrontation reaches a breaking point as Jin Quan vows to settle the score once and for all. Li Hongyu unleashes a spectral assault, commanding his forces to eliminate Jin Quan without any mercy. Jin Quan leaps into the fray, his blade glowing as he deflects the incoming energy projectiles. This speed of his counterattack catches the noble off guard, forcing him to rethink his strategy. Jin Quan lands a solid hit, sending his opponent reeling back from the sheer force of impact. This noble crashes into the ground, his composure shattering as he realizes he is truly outmatched. His subordinate watches in horror. Wondering if his leader has finally met his match today, Li Hongyu tries to regain his arrogance, mocking Jin Quan while masking his own rising internal panic. Jin Quan stares him down with a cold, predatory intensity that freezes the noble in his tracks. This realization of his impending defeat hits the noble hard, leaving him visibly shaken and speechless. Jin Quan closes the distance in a blur, ending the standoff with a final decisive strike. This noble is left completely stunned, unable to grasp how his defenses crumbled so easily. Jin Quan follows up with a decisive strike, effectively neutralizing the threat before it can escalate. He reveals that the previous display was just a distraction to keep his opponent off balance. Onlookers whisper in shock, realizing the third young master has been eliminated with terrifying clinical efficiency. Jin Quan ignores the chaos he left behind, calmly walking away as the situation finally settles. A mysterious contact reaches out via phone, confirming Jin Quan has emerged from the dangerous pit. This man on the other end seems eager to meet, clearly holding some significant information. Jin Quan approaches the pair, ready to see where this unexpected invitation will lead him next. He learns he is being taken to meet Master Zhao, a figure of undeniable importance. They head out into the city, moving through the streets toward their final, undisclosed destination. Jin Quan arrives at the designated location, calling out for his contact known as Seventh Uncle. This man emerges from the shadows, looking weary but clearly expecting his visitor's arrival. He invites Jin Quan inside, offering a place to sit while they discuss the recent developments. Jin Quan enters the room with his companion, meeting the man who holds the keys to his future. A tense silence hangs in the air as the man studies Jin Quan with a sharp, calculating gaze. They move deeper into the private space, leaving the outside world and its dangers behind them. Jin Quan drops the heavy news that Zhu Jianzhong has perished within the confines of the abyss. This man is visibly shaken by the revelation, demanding to know exactly how the tragedy unfolded. They discuss the political fallout, fearing that news of the betrayal could destabilize the entire empire. Seventh Uncle warns that the boss is already demanding the 6 skills, raising the stakes even higher. Seventh Uncle presses for details on how Jin Quan ended up with his current mysterious companion. He admits he never knew the boy but was well acquainted with his late father. Jin Quan is visibly caught off guard, finally asking for the truth about his own lineage. This older man confirms his identity as the eldest son of the supposedly destroyed Diwu family. He expresses shock at Jin Quan's rapid growth, noting his records once labeled him a total failure. Jin Quan credits his sudden miraculous awakening to the guidance and support of his ally, Jiran. This realization hits seventh uncle that Jiran's involvement explains the sudden shift in Jinquan's potential. Jinquan doesn't waste time, boldly requesting a massive loan of 200,000 spirit crystals. Seventh uncle accepts the high-stakes gamble without hesitation. Clearly trusting the boy's newfound path, they finalize the agreement, moving quickly to secure the resources needed for the coming war. Seventh uncle hands over 2 boxes of spirit crystals, providing the necessary funding for the upcoming mission. Jiran is visibly stunned by the sheer scale of the resources being poured into their dangerous endeavor. Jinquan accepts the reward and immediately pivots to his next objective. Heading toward the Champ Street guard post, he learns the post has been completely wiped out, with reports of a brutal struggle involving a warlord. Jinquan urgently asks about a young woman who was last seen in the area during the chaos. Seventh uncle reveals that she was likely abducted by Fang Huai, a dangerous associate of the local underworld. Admitting she once saved his life, Jinquan asks for help, and seventh uncle offers to intervene immediately. Relieved by the promise of assistance, Jinquan prepares to track her down before it is too late. Meanwhile, the city skyline looms over a private retreat where the atmosphere remains tense and heavy. News arrives that the rescued girl has finally regained consciousness, shifting the focus of their next move. Linmeng presses the girl for information about any items her late brother might have left. He reveals a mysterious object he already possesses, clearly looking for a matching piece of evidence. This girl looks visibly distressed and overwhelmed by the sudden, aggressive line of questioning from him. Linmeng snaps, slamming his hand into the water as his patience for her silence vanishes. This sudden outburst sends the girl collapsing to the floor. Clearly shaken by his intense reaction, tears well up in her eyes as she struggles to process the hostility directed toward her. A message suddenly pops up on his phone, demanding the girl in exchange for a rare flower. Realizing the stakes have shifted, Linmeng reacts with shock at the mention of the specific item. He steps out of the water, his focus now entirely locked on the girl and the threat. Grabbing her arm, he decides to take her with him, leaving the safety of the room behind. Jinquan meets with the contact, confirming if Zhao Liubai was the one who sent him. This man arrives with the young girl in tow, ready to finalize their tense arrangement. He presents the briefcase containing the rare sandheart flower, fulfilling his end of the bargain. Jinquan inspects the goods while the man confirms the girl is safe and ready for transfer. Opening the case reveals the glowing flower, a prize that cost them far too much effort. This man breathes a sigh of relief, knowing this trade keeps his associate from certain doom. Jinquan introduces himself to the girl, explaining that he was sent by her friend to help. She is visibly stunned to hear his name, barely believing that Jinquan actually pulled this off. He reassures her that everything is under control and that she will be reunited soon enough. Jinquan contemplates her offer of repayment, though his focus remains entirely on the mission at hand. Jinquan learns that his next breakthrough requires mastering 6 skills and reaching level 39. His contact proposes a dangerous expedition into the Cursebone Cave to farm rare equipment. Though the mission is clearly a death trap, Jinquan agrees to the terms without hesitation. This tension breaks when his associates arrive, finally delivering the girl he fought to rescue. She is visibly overwhelmed with relief to see Jinquan standing there, safe and sound. He keeps his word, confirming that the promise he made to her has been fulfilled. This girl rushes into his arms, sobbing with gratitude as the weight of her ordeal lifts. Jinquan tells her they are done with the city, inviting her to stay by his side. He pulls out a mysterious glowing token, ready to present her with a significant gift. This room goes silent as he reveals the legendary emblem, shocking everyone with its sudden appearance. Jinquan hands over the rare item, finally initiating the long-awaited awakening process for his ally. Intense energy surges around her as the transformation begins to take hold of her spirit. A brilliant light erupts, signaling that the process is successfully breaking through her previous limits. This onlookers watch in complete shock as she emerges with a newfound powerful aura. Her status screen reveals a legendary class, marking her as a force to be reckoned with. She stabilizes her power, testing the strange glowing interface that now defines her combat abilities. Disbelief washes over her as she realizes she has actually attained a legendary rank. Jinquan steps in to offer his support, confirming that she is finally ready to stand tall. Their contact acknowledges the impressive feat, promising to remember the favor Jinquan has just performed. He notes that with such a rare class, she is more than qualified to join their mission. Jinquan stresses the importance of emotional control, reminding his ally that focus beats raw frenzy. They prepare to depart for the Cursebone Cave, but not before handling some final logistics. Jinquan orders his team to secure specialized gear and a batch of thermal weapons from storage. He begins equipping himself with the new tactical suit, ensuring every strap is perfectly secured. This gear fits like a second skin, providing the protection needed for their upcoming dangerous trek. Cases of high-grade weaponry are opened, revealing an arsenal that should give them a fighting chance. Jinquan hands over the basic tier equipment, instructing his companion to bind them with her ability. She reaches out to the hardware, her power crackling as she establishes a direct, mental connection. Energy flows between her and the weapons, effectively syncing the gear to her unique combat signature. Feeling the equipment merge with her senses, she realizes her potential has reached a new level. Jinquan decides to bypass the public transit system, opting for a heavily armored vehicle instead. His allies are clearly impressed by the sheer wealth required to maintain such a beast. This driver explains that while the car is essentially a mobile fortress, it drains resources fast. They peel away from the city, leaving the urban sprawl behind for the open, dangerous road. This team eventually reaches the outskirts of the wasteland, marking the start of their real journey. Consulting the map, Jinquan points out that the entrance to the cave is just 30 kilometers away. He notes that that the surrounding forest is relatively low level, perfect for a quick warm-up session, assigning roles on the fly. He directs his team to maintain tight coordination as they advance. They disembark from the vehicle, scanning the barren, dusty landscape for any signs of hidden threats. Suddenly, the tension spikes as Jinquan senses an anomaly lurking just beneath the surface of the sand. A massive sand mistworm erupts from the dunes, forcing the team into immediate combat. Jinquan directs Lin Meng to take the shot, trusting her to handle the high-pressure situation. He guides her focus toward the creature's vulnerable joints. Keeping her calm under the heat, she fires with precision, her bullet cutting through the air to strike the beast perfectly. This worm collapses instantly, confirming that their coordinated strike was far more effective than expected. Jinquan keeps the momentum going, urging her to maintain her breathing and steady her aim. He calculates the trajectory for the next target, telling her exactly where to lead her shots. This remaining worms scatter in fear. Realizing they are outmatched by this duo's lethal efficiency, Jinquan suddenly senses a shift in the environment, warning his team that something is wrong. A colossal sand mistworm king emerges from the earth, dwarfing everything they faced before. This team scrambles to avoid the massive beast as it bursts from the desert floor. A torrent of acidic energy sprays across the sand, forcing everyone to scatter for cover. Jinquan barks a quick command to dodge, narrowly missing the creature's lethal, sweeping mandibles as they strike. He directs Lin Meng to switch her gear to sniper mode and target the creature's joints. She acknowledges the plan immediately, readying her weapon while Jinquan keeps the monster's attention firmly fixed. Activating her ultimate firepower enhancement, she lines up a shot that maximizes damage over long range. This beast lets out a piercing cry as the projectile tears through its thick, armored hide. It staggers back, clearly feeling the impact of the precise strike on its most vulnerable spot. Lin Meng keeps the pressure on, firing rapid, consecutive shots that shatter the creature's defensive plating. Jinquan urges her to maintain the barrage, pushing the monster back with their relentless, coordinated assault. This massive creature falls, granting Jinquan a significant level boost for his impressive combat efficiency. Lin Meng celebrates their hard-earned victory, clearly thrilled by the sudden surge in her power. Jinquan keeps her focused, reminding her that maintaining composure is the key to their survival. He pushes her to keep the momentum going, urging her to continue their rapid leveling journey. They move into the dense forest, where swarms of hostile creatures await their next tactical strike. Lin Meng leaps into the fray with newfound confidence, expertly maneuvering through the thick, dangerous canopy. Another wave of enemies is wiped out, pushing her to level 10 and a Tier 1 advancement. This pair acknowledges the milestone. Though they know their training session is far from being over, they stand atop a high ridge, unaware that their presence has already drawn some unwanted attention. A group of local scavengers spots them, already plotting to ambush the group for their gear. A group of opportunistic scavengers spots the duo, salivating over their high-quality tactical gear. Meanwhile, Lin Meng celebrates her recent level 10 milestone while testing out her new weapon. Jinquan suggests a quick breather, gathering the team to share some much-needed rations in the woods. They settle down by a campfire, enjoying a rare moment of peace amidst the dangerous wilderness. Lin Meng expresses her deep gratitude to Jinquan for everything he has done for her lately. He brushes off the thanks, insisting that he is now her protector and family in spirit. Overwhelmed by his kindness, she tears up, finally finding a sense of belonging in this world. She pulls him into a heartfelt embrace, clearly moved by his unwavering commitment to her safety. Hidden in the shadows, the scavengers watch the group, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They draw their blades, preparing to ambush the unsuspecting team the second they get the signal. This scavenger leader hesitates, suggesting they test the waters before jumping into a full-blown fight, but his boss is having none of it, barking a sharp order for him to move. He tries to protest, but the boss is already losing his patience with the cowardice shown, shoving his subordinate forward with a violent kick. He forces the group to initiate the ambush. Lin Meng catches the sudden movement in the brush, her instincts flaring as the danger arrives. This scavengers charge out from the trees, screaming for blood as they rush toward the camp. Projectiles fly through the air, forcing Jinquan and his ally to scramble into a defensive stance. One of the attackers lunges forward with a blade, desperate to take down his target quickly. Jinquan doesn't even flinch, moving with a speed that catches the entire raiding party off guard. He stops the incoming strike with his bare hand, leaving the stunned attacker completely wide open. Jinquan effortlessly neutralizes the first attacker, proving that his reflexes are leagues ahead of these scavengers. A swift counterstrike sends the next bandit flying, effectively dismantling their ambush before it even truly begins. This remaining scavengers are visibly shaken, realizing they have severely underestimated the combat prowess of their targets. Their leader refuses to back down, stubbornly insisting that they resort to underhanded tactics to secure a win. He hatches a desperate plan to strike while the team is vulnerable, blinded by his own greed. Meanwhile, Lin Meng remains focused and alert, completely unaware of the malicious eyes watching her from afar. Jinquan senses the lingering presence of the bandits nearby, his tactical awareness keeping the team on edge. He scoffs at the audacity of these scavengers, clearly unimpressed by their pathetic attempt at an ambush. This group discusses their next move, weighing the risks of staying in the woods for much longer. Jinquan decides they will wait for nightfall, knowing the secret realm entrance only reveals itself after dark. Night falls over the forest, casting a quiet shadow across their temporary campsite. Jinquan insists on taking the first watch, telling his companion to get some sleep. Lin Meng happily agrees, finally letting her guard down as she settles in for rest. Jinquan watches over her with a calm expression, keeping his senses sharp for any trouble. Suddenly, a loud command shatters the silence, signaling an immediate and aggressive attack on them. Jinquan snaps into action, ordering Lin Meng to stay put while he confronts the threat. Chaos erupts as the camp is engulfed in flames, forcing them to scramble for safety. He realizes the sand bandits have returned to finish the job, fueling his growing rage. A sudden realization hits him, and his expression shifts from focus to pure, cold alarm. He lunges toward the tent, shouting for Lin Meng as he senses she is in danger. Jinquan realizes the bandits pulled a fast one, using the distraction to snatch his ally. His eyes widen in pure fury as he understands their true malicious intentions for her. This kidnappers speed away into the night, their vehicle kicking up dust as they escape. Inside the car, the bandits gloat over their successful ruse, feeling untouchable in their arrogance. They trade vile remarks about their captive, completely unaware of the storm they just invited. Meanwhile, Lin Meng struggles against her restraints, her eyes wide with terror and mounting helplessness. This vehicle pulls into the heavily fortified sand bandit base, sealing her fate for now. One of the captors tosses her aside with cruel disregard, mocking her desperate, muffled pleas. She looks up in shock as the reality of her grim situation finally sets in. Trapped and isolated, she realizes she is completely at the mercy of these ruthless criminals. Lin Meng finds herself trapped in a confined space, struggling against the effects of gas. She realizes too late that the air has been compromised by a toxic, numbing agent. Coughing and disoriented, she collapses as her strength fades away into the dark, hazy room. This bandits swarm in to secure their prize, gloating over their easy and cowardly victory. Their leader makes his twisted intentions clear, treating her like a trophy for his camp. He looms over her with a sickening grin, expecting her to submit to his demands, but Lin Meng refuses to be a victim, lashing out with a desperate, well-placed kick. This sudden impact catches the arrogant bandit off guard, forcing him to stumble backward. He doubles over in agony, his smug expression replaced by a look of pure, stinging pain. This other bandits rush in, shocked that their captive still has enough fight to retaliate. This bandit leader orders his men to make Lin Meng suffer for her defiance. They eagerly rush forward, thinking they have the upper hand against their captive, but Lin Meng surprises them by manifesting weapons despite being restrained in the room. She unleashes a barrage of fire, sending the attackers scrambling to avoid the projectiles. With a fierce expression, she maintains her focus and keeps the pressure on them. These bandits are forced to retreat as she continues to dominate the cramped space. Even the leader is stunned to see her fighting back so effectively while bound. Meanwhile, Jinquan tracks the tire marks left behind by the fleeing bandit vehicle. He and his team follow the trail deep into the woods toward the base. Confirming the location, Jinquan prepares to launch a full-scale rescue mission for his ally. Jinquan stays focused on the mission, confident that Lin Meng can handle her recent power surge. He tracks the kidnappers to a fortified desert outpost, a place clearly built for trouble. Inside the falls, the bandits celebrate their latest catch with a complete lack of moral compass. Their lookout spots an incoming vehicle, unaware that they have just invited a total disaster. Jinquan barrels toward the main gate, his arrival announced by a cloud of dust and fury. This desert floor trembles as he closes the distance, ready to tear their defenses apart. He pulls up right to the entrance, his team prepared to storm the gates with force. Confirming the base matches their intel, he prepares to reclaim his ally from these pathetic scavengers. This bandits laugh at the audacity of his arrival, already plotting to steal his tactical vehicle. Jinquan ignores their taunts and orders his team to breach the gate, ending this standoff immediately. Jinquan doesn't waste time, launching a heavy projectile straight at the bandit base entrance. This explosive impact tears through the gate, signaling a violent start to his rescue mission. Debris flies everywhere as the defensive wall crumbles, leaving the scavengers completely caught off guard. This bandit leader screams for his men to swarm the intruder. Desperate to maintain control, Jinquan stands his ground, calmly stating he only wants his ally back before he leaves. He names Lin Meng, his expression hardening as he stares down the entire hostile group. A tense silence falls over the scavengers, their confidence wavering at his cold, focused intensity. This leader laughs, mocking Jinquan with a cruel remark about his captive's current grim situation. Jinquan snaps, his aura flaring with lethal intent as he demands the bandit repeat himself. This arrogant leader doubles down, unaware that he has just signed his own death warrant. Jinquan's eyes burn with a terrifying intensity that freezes the bandits in their tracks. He unleashes a sudden, overwhelming burst of energy that sends the entire group reeling. This scavengers scream in panic as they realize they have picked a fight with a monster. Lin Meng watches from the sidelines, clearly proud of her protector's absolute dominance over the thugs. Jinquan leaps into the center of the chaos, moving with a speed that defies human logic. He spins through the air like a whirlwind, disarming and disabling his attackers in seconds. This battlefield becomes a blur of motion as he systematically dismantles their entire defensive line. This remaining bandit stare in total disbelief, unable to comprehend the sheer power before them. He stands amidst the wreckage, radiating a dark aura and offering them one final choice. This terrified scavengers immediately drop their weapons, begging for mercy as the base burns down. This bandit leader paces in frustration, still fuming over his failed plans for the captive. Suddenly, the base is breached as an intruder storms the perimeter with incredible swift force. This boss demands to know who has the audacity to challenge his authority so brazenly. Jinquan steps forward, his presence radiating a lethal pressure that silences the entire room instantly. Recognition dawns on the leader, his face twisting into a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. Jinquan ignores the panic, his thoughts fixed on the mysterious downfall of the Tianqi Empire. He approaches a prisoner, demanding answers about the powerful forces that orchestrated the massive collapse. This captive warns him to flee instead of seeking vengeance, fearing for his very life. Jinquan refuses to back down, insisting that understanding the enemy is his only path forward. This prisoner reveals a chilling truth, explaining that their mysterious enemies call themselves the gods. Jinquan presses the captive for details on these so-called divine envoys and their true nature. This prisoner describes entities that look human but possess the raw power of apex monsters. He reveals that the entire Tianqi Empire has been completely overrun by these disguised, predatory beings. It becomes clear that these creatures are actively mimicking humanity to infiltrate and dominate society. This prisoner describes how they emerge from within, shedding their monstrous forms to walk among us. He explains that their rapid assimilation into human civilization is a calculated and terrifying process. No faction in the wasteland is safe from this silent, creeping invasion of the divine envoys. Jinquan pulls out a mysterious scroll, questioning if this artifact is linked to their dark influence. This captive recognizes the item as a sacred book of the envoys, trembling in sheer disbelief. Jinquan remains cold and focused, demanding to know exactly how this relic can be utilized effectively. This prisoner explains that the artifact allows one to unlock a powerful second form. Jinquan processes the grim news that the entire Tianqi Empire has likely been wiped out. This captive admits that the upper city is completely gone. Leaving him in total despair, Jinquan offers to help him escape, but the man insists that his time is up. Cursed by dark magic, the prisoner knows he cannot survive the corruption spreading through him. He instructs Jinquan to take his head after he passes to recover a hidden map. Lin Meng watches the tragic scene unfold, her expression filled with shock and growing sadness. This dying man reveals that the divine envoys are hiding in plain sight as leaders. Jinquan realizes the scope of the infiltration as his ally calls out in pure grief. With his final breath, the man begs Jinquan to keep his son away from this vengeance. This prisoner finally succumbs to his corruption, leaving Jinquan to honor his grim final request. Jinquan watches with a stoic expression, fully aware of the heavy burden he now carries. He delivers a swift, decisive strike to fulfill the man's wish and secure the hidden map. This artifact is successfully recovered, marking the end of the prisoner's long and painful struggle. Jinquan examines the glowing data, acknowledging that the fallen man's sacrifice will not be in vain. With the mission complete, the group turns their backs on the ruins to continue their journey. They regroup by their vehicle, confirming that the immediate threat at the base is neutralized. This team wastes no time, speeding away into the vast desert to their next destination. They travel across the desolate landscape, heading toward the distant, mysterious elemental holy city. As they drive, Jinquan explains the tragic history of the city and its total, sudden collapse. This group arrives at the outskirts of a bustling, lawless settlement filled with shady characters. Local hustlers immediately swarm them, trying to peddle everything from captives to questionable herbal tonics. Jinquan and his team are forced to push through the aggressive crowd of desperate merchants. They quickly brush off the persistent vendors, making it clear they have no interest in trading. Jinquan notes that these scavengers took over the area after the holy city was suddenly abandoned. They finally reach the entrance to the dimensional land, a massive structure looming in the distance. This team approaches the base of the colossal pyramid, sensing the strange energy radiating from within. Jinquan instructs his companions to hold their position outside while he ventures into the unknown alone. He steps toward the heavy stone doors, signaling the start of his solo infiltration of the site. Inside the dark, eerie chamber, he is greeted by the grim remains of those who failed before. Jinquan and his team stand before the massive structure, wondering how to breach the entrance. He climbs onto the skeletal architecture, demonstrating exactly how to trigger the hidden mechanism. A surge of dark energy erupts as the portal finally yields to his precise touch. With the path cleared, Jinquan decides that Lin Meng needs to prioritize her training immediately. They step through the shimmering gateway, leaving the outside world behind for the unknown realm. This team finds themselves inside a vast eerie hall filled with rows of mysterious artifacts, scanning the surroundings. They realize this place is far more dangerous than it first appeared. Lin Meng spots movement in the shadows and raises her weapon to meet the threat. She fires into the gloom, her shots echoing through the silent, tomb-like chamber of horrors. A massive horde of skeletal warriors rises from the floor, ready to swarm the intruders. Jinquan directs his team to lead the charge while he covers their rear. He insists that Lin Meng takes the front to gain some much-needed combat experience. She accepts the challenge with enthusiasm, ready to prove her worth in the field. Unleashing a barrage of fire, she tears through the skeletal ranks with precision shots. This system confirms her rapid progress as she hits a new milestone in power. Lin Meng beams with excitement, realizing that these encounters are perfect for her growth. Jinquan keeps a watchful eye on their surroundings, noticing another wave approaching them quickly. A dark rift opens in the chamber, spilling out even more restless, ancient warriors. This team braces for impact as a massive horde of bone-clad enemies swarms forward. Lin Meng doesn't hesitate, immediately opening fire to thin the incoming crowd of attackers. The skeletal warriors prove surprisingly sturdy, deflecting deflecting incoming attacks with their heavy reinforced shields. Jinquan pauses for a second, genuinely surprised that his initial strikes failed to shatter them. Lin Meng brushes off the setback with a grin, promising that she is just warming up. She unleashes a devastating blast that bypasses their defenses entirely, turning the front line to dust. This sheer force of her ability tears through the remaining shields like they were made of paper. Jinquan watches in awe, realizing that her mythic tier abilities are completely breaking the game's balance. With her confidence soaring, she leaps into the fray, moving with newfound agility and lethal intent. She dances through the air, dual-wielding her weapons to pick off the remaining bone-clad enemies. Every shot lands with pinpoint accuracy, shattering the ancient warriors before they can even react. This chamber is quickly cleared, leaving nothing but a pile of broken remains in her wake. Lin Meng dashes through the debris, clearing out the last of the skeletal remains with ease. She celebrates hitting level 20. Clearly feeling confident about her rapid growth in this dungeon, Jinquan acknowledges her impressive talent, noting that she is actually outpacing his own leveling speed. Their moment of victory is cut short as a sudden, ominous presence emerges from the shadows. A flaming beast lunges into the chamber, its roar shaking the very foundations of the room. Jinquan shouts a warning, his instincts screaming as the creature targets his companion with lethal intent. Lin Meng turns just in time to see the monster closing the distance between them. This beast slams into her with overwhelming force, sending her flying across the dusty hall. Jinquan snaps, his aura turning dark and volatile as he prepares to punish the creature. He launches a counterattack, his fury focused entirely on protecting his sister from the predator. This flaming beast charges with relentless speed, forcing Jinquan to react to its sudden, aggressive assault. It unleashes a massive fireball that threatens to consume everything in its path, leaving no room for error. Jinquan barely deflects the searing blast, taking a direct hit that leaves him visibly shaken and strained. He recovers instantly, spinning through the air to counter the creature's momentum with a sharp, precise strike. Lin Meng watches in alarm, her concern for his safety evident as she calls out to him. Jinquan channels his dark energy into his blade, preparing to meet the monster's raw power head-on. His focus sharpens as he realizes this opponent is far more dangerous than any scavenger he has faced. An ally rushes into the fray, determined to support him against the overwhelming threat of the beast. Dark, ethereal chains manifest from the void, wrapping around the creature to restrict its chaotic, fiery movements. They combine their strengths to pin down the monster, knowing that a direct confrontation is their only hope. This ally urges Jinquan to strike him, revealing a unique ability to redirect incoming damage. He explains that his chains link him to the beast, forcing it to absorb every blow. Jinquan trusts the plan completely, dropping his hesitation to unleash his full, lethal combat potential. He swings his blade with terrifying speed, cutting through the air toward his waiting teammate. This energy connects perfectly, triggering the link that binds the creature to the incoming strike. A massive surge of power erupts as the beast takes the full brunt of the attack. This resulting explosion rocks the chamber, leaving the creature reeling from the unexpected redirected force. Glowing markers appear in the aftermath, signaling that the enemy has finally been successfully subdued. Jinquan praises his ally for such a clever and effective tactical maneuver during the intense fight. They secure their hard-earned loot, though Jinquan warns that the real challenges are still ahead. Jinquan rallies his team, pushing them forward to navigate the next phase of the dungeon. They approach a massive, ornate door that Jinquan identifies as the only path to progress. With a sharp pull, he forces the heavy barrier open, revealing a hidden chamber beyond. This group steps inside, but the environment immediately shifts to trap them in a cage. Jinquan realizes they have been caught in a sudden, calculated ambush by the dungeon's defenses. A reinforced barrier slams down, isolating the team from the rest of the vast hall. Lin Meng rushes toward them, clearly worried about the sudden turn of events for her allies. Jinquan shouts a warning, ordering her to stay back before the situation spirals out of control. This cage begins to pulse with intense energy, testing the structural integrity of their containment. Searing flames erupt around the perimeter, turning the trap into a lethal, high-stakes pressure cooker. Jinquan observes the reinforced barrier. Frustrated that his initial efforts to break it failed, he steps forward to take control, determined to shatter the containment using his own power. With a swift, calculated strike, he channels his energy directly into the glowing cage structure. This barrier buckles under the intense pressure, sparking violently as the energy begins to dissipate. Jinquan successfully breaches the trap, clearing a path for his team to escape the heat. He expresses genuine surprise at the effectiveness of his technique against such ancient magical defenses. Sensing an unsettling presence nearby, he warns the group that they are being watched closely. A mysterious sound echoes through the chamber, drawing their attention to a piano being played. Jinquan realizes with shock that they are not alone in this desolate, forgotten tomb-like hall. A strange figure sits at the instrument, greeting the intruders with a chilling, unexpected welcome. This skeletal warden introduces himself, claiming the team is just the latest batch of listeners. Jinquan and his crew stand stunned, wondering what happened to all the previous visitors here. This warden stands up from his piano, his movements cold and devoid of any humanity. He casually admits that everyone else failed his standards and met a very permanent end. One of the teammates realizes that defeating this warden is the only way to proceed. Jinquan remains calm, though he admits that taking down a boss like this is challenging. This warden finds Jinquan's confidence amusing, his glowing eyes fixed on the group with malice. He returns to his instrument, unleashing a wave of lethal energy through his haunting melody. Jinquan immediately orders Lin Meng to stay behind him as the room begins to shake. They scramble to dodge the incoming energy beams, narrowly avoiding the warden's deadly musical assault. Yins takes a direct hit from the musical assault, struggling to maintain his defensive stance. Lin Meng rushes to his side, desperately trying to shield him from the relentless energy beams. Projectiles continue to rain down on them, forcing the pair to stay on the defensive. Lin Meng snaps back at the warden, refusing to let him intimidate them any further. Jin Quan deflects a sharp energy blade. His movements becoming increasingly aggressive and focused, he launches himself toward the source of the melody, channeling his dark energy into combat. This warden remains unfazed, clearly unimpressed by their attempts to disrupt his deadly performance. Jin Quan steps up, making it crystal clear that threatening his sister is a fatal mistake. He unleashes a powerful strike, his rage fueling a desperate attempt to silence the music. This warden simply scoffs, comparing their defiance to the rebels he has already disposed of. This warden mocks their lack of taste while his musical energy continues to assault them. Jin Quan snaps back, clearly fed up with the constant noise and the boss's arrogant attitude. He charges forward to deliver a decisive blow, cutting through the warden's defenses with ease. Suddenly, a teammate shouts a desperate warning as the boss prepares a volatile final countermeasure. A massive shockwave erupts from the warden, forcing Jin Quan to retreat before the blast hits. This force of the explosion sends them stumbling back, struggling to maintain their footing. Lin Meng cries out in alarm, her concern for her brother spiking as the dust settles. This warden stands amidst the wreckage, his cold, hollow gaze fixed on them with dark intent. He declares that their efforts are futile, promising a grim end for everyone in the room. Jin Quan barely blocks a lethal strike, realizing the boss is far more dangerous than he seems. Jin Quan barely avoids a lethal strike, turning the tables on the warden with a swift counter. He unleashes a brutal, high-speed assault that finally breaks through the boss's defenses for good. This system confirms a legendary drop, rewarding his persistence with a powerful new skill emblem. Jin Quan examines his hard-earned prize, realizing this legendary item is exactly what he needed. He identifies the reward as an overlord ticket, the key to clearing this entire dungeon stage. Activating the ticket, he prepares the team for an immediate and mandatory transition. A massive magic circle erupts beneath them, warping the group away from the ruined hall. They are teleported instantly to a new location, ready to face the dungeon's true ruler. This scenery shifts from a dark tomb to a deceptively peaceful, cherry blossom-filled landscape, but the tranquility is short-lived as they are swarmed by a terrifying, undead horde. A massive serpent overlord emerges, mocking the group and treating them like mere snacks. This team realizes they took a wrong turn and ended up in a dangerous spot. Panic sets in as they desperately search for an exit to avoid this lethal encounter. This creature makes it clear that leaving is not an option until it is satisfied. A sudden burst of energy signals that more unexpected guests have arrived on the scene. A magic circle glows brightly, revealing a new group that has just teleported into range. Jin Quan and his allies realize they have stumbled into a high-stakes battle with an overlord. This other team views these newcomers as convenient bait to distract the beast for them. They prepare to slip away while the monster is busy dealing with the fresh arrivals. This serpent unleashes a devastating beam of energy, forcing everyone to scramble for their lives. This massive energy beam tears through the landscape, forcing the group to scatter instantly. Jin Quan screams for his team to move, barely avoiding the lethal blast by a hair. He and his allies scramble to regroup, weapons drawn as they face the towering serpent. A sudden violent impact rocks the ground, sending debris flying as the beast strikes again. This serpent watches with cold amusement, clearly surprised that its prey managed to dodge it. Lin Meng arrives on the scene, calling out to her brother as the dust settles. Jin Quan immediately orders her to stay back, insisting she is outmatched by this monstrous entity. This beast dismisses them as mere pests, lashing out with a devastating, earth-shattering physical attack. It mocks their defiance, unleashing another wave of pure power that tears the ground apart. Jin Quan takes the brunt of the assault, struggling to hold his ground against the onslaught. Jin Quan struggles to maintain his grip, realizing this serpent's raw power is on another level. He quickly signals his allies that a coordinated effort is their only path to survival. This beast looms over them, channeling dark energy as it mocks their fragile mortal existence. It lashes out with arrogant fury, forcing the team to scatter across the shattered landscape. They scramble to set up a defensive barrier, hoping to mitigate the creature's overwhelming assault. This shield shatters under the pressure, sending the team reeling from the sheer concussive impact. A teammate steps up to provide cover, urging Jin Quan to find an opening for a strike. He successfully binds the serpent with glowing chains, pinning the massive entity in place temporarily. Jin Quan seizes the moment, channeling his dark energy into a lethal high-speed blade strike. He lunges forward with everything he has, aiming to end this nightmare in one blow. Jin Quan drives his blade forward with lethal intent, aiming to shatter the serpent's defenses completely. This beast roars in defiance, struggling against the glowing chains that hold it in place. A massive impact erupts as the strike connects, sending shockwaves through the entire clearing. His teammates watch in awe, genuinely wondering if they have finally managed to win, but the smoke clears to reveal only empty space, the creature having vanished into thin air. Jin Quan realizes the danger is far from over, his instincts screaming that the threat remains. This serpent reappears behind him, mocking his efforts and questioning how mortals could ever compete. A teammate shouts a desperate warning, seeing the monster prepare a lethal counterattack against Jin Quan. This beast lashes out with overwhelming force, catching Jin Quan off guard with a sudden violent strike. He is sent flying through the air, barely holding onto his composure as the pain hits. Jinquan channels his newfound power to unleash a devastating strike against the serpent's defenses, his eyes burning with determination as he refuses to back down from this overwhelming challenge. With an indomitable will, he pushes his limits to shatter the creature's hold on reality. Lin Meng watches in awe as Jinquan claims his legendary rewards mid-battle, leveling up instantly. This serpent stands stunned, unable to comprehend how a mere mortal could grow stronger under pressure. Jinquan seizes the opening, raising his blade high to deliver a final, crushing blow. He drives his energy downward, carving a path of destruction through the beast's massive form. This serpent lets out a desperate cry as its physical manifestation begins to unravel completely. A massive shockwave clears the landscape, leaving nothing but the aftermath of their intense clash. His allies look on in disbelief, realizing Jinquan just secured a solo victory against the Overlord. Jinquan touches down safely, shaking off the intensity of the previous life-or-death encounter. His teammates rush over to check his condition, but he brushes off their concern. They spot a golden emblem floating nearby, clearly a high-tier reward from the battle. This item glows with legendary intensity as it settles into the clearing. Jinquan inspects the grasp of the cursed gloves, a powerful legendary drop with impressive stats. This group agrees that Jinquan should claim the loot first to maximize their survival odds. He secures the emblem, his authority over the team's distribution of resources remaining absolute. Lin Meng celebrates their massive win. Though Jinquan stays focused on finding a quick exit, a sudden swirling portal manifests in the clearing, offering them a way out of here. They prepare to depart, hoping this teleportation array leads them far from any further threats. This portal flares with intense energy, signaling their narrow escape from the deadly encounter. Jinquan and his crew are whisked away through the swirling vortex to safety. Landing in a new area, the group breathes a sigh of relief as the tension fades. Lin Meng admits she is famished, prompting Jinquan to suggest they find a local tavern. They wander through the quiet streets, eventually locating a nearby establishment to rest. Stepping inside, the team enters the tavern, hoping for a bit of normalcy after the chaos. This place is surprisingly sparse, with only a few patrons scattered across the dim room. A nervous bartender looks up, clearly caught off guard by the sudden arrival of these strangers. Jinquan steps forward to inquire about the menu, his presence commanding immediate attention from the staff. This bartender quickly offers his hospitality, eager to accommodate the group and keep things peaceful. Lin Meng is clearly ready to refuel, ordering a massive feast for the hungry team. Jinquan pays with spirit crystal, catching the attention of every lowlife in the room. A group of local thugs immediately takes notice, their greed outweighing their common sense. Lin Meng senses the shift in the atmosphere, realizing they have become the center of attention. Jinquan confirms her suspicions, noting that their display of wealth has painted a target. One of the thugs decides to test their luck, demanding a handout with an arrogant smirk. Lin Meng isn't about to play nice, drawing her weapon to shut down the harassment. This thug brushes her off with a dismissive insult, clearly underestimating who he is dealing with. Unimpressed by his primitive weaponry, Lin Meng prepares to teach these amateurs a harsh lesson. This thug loses his cool entirely, aiming his weapon as the situation spirals into violence. Lin Meng delivers a swift, crushing kick that sends the thug sprawling across the floor. She mocks his slow reflexes, effortlessly dodging his clumsy attempt to retaliate with a firearm. With precise timing, she fires a shot that neutralizes the threat before he can react. This rest of the gang realizes they are outmatched as their comrade falls in defeat. She lands gracefully, leaving the troublemakers incapacitated and unable to continue their pathetic little scheme. A mysterious observer watches the display from the shadows, offering a slow, impressed round of applause. He steps into the light, clearly admiring the raw talent Lin Meng just put on display. She immediately levels her weapon at the stranger, demanding to know exactly who he is. This man keeps his hands raised, acting calm while inviting them upstairs for a private drink. Jinquan and his companion exchange a silent look, weighing the risks of this sudden suspicious invitation. This stranger leads them to a private room, promising a drink to settle their nerves. But as the door swings open, they are greeted by a truly unsettling sight. A man sits slumped over the bar, clearly in the throes of a bizarre transformation. Jinquan immediately realizes that something is terribly wrong with the man's erratic, frantic behavior. He warns his team to stay back, sensing a dark energy radiating from the room. This man suddenly collapses to the floor, his body convulsing in a violent, unnatural way. A monstrous beast-like aura erupts from his back, signaling a complete loss of humanity. Jinquan recoils in shock as the creature begins to rise, its form twisting into something lethal. This man turns around, his face now a terrifying mask of fangs and predatory hunger. He lunges forward with feral intensity, forcing the group to prepare for another desperate fight. This transformed man screams for help, but his feral state leaves no room for mercy. Jinquan doesn't hesitate, launching a powerful kick that sends the creature flying across the room. Sensing the divine aura clinging to the beast, the team realizes this is no ordinary threat. This monster lashes out in a blind rage, blaming them for ruining its twisted, dark plans. With a menacing growl, it lunges forward to strike, clearly intending to end their lives immediately. Jinquan narrowly avoids the lethal swipe, his reflexes sharp enough to keep him in the fight. This creature is caught off guard by his speed. Leaving it wide open for a counter, Jinquan seizes the opening, delivering a precise blow that knocks the beast back into the wall. He follows up with a crushing strike, pinning the monster down with overwhelming, focused force. This room shakes as the creature hits the floor, finally silenced by the team's combined effort. effort. This creature struggles against the team, its form twisting with a dark, unnatural energy. Jinquan identifies the strange aura as belonging to a divine envoy, heightening the immediate danger. This possessed man screams out his twisted allegiance, clearly losing his grip on reality. Jinquan silences the outburst with a swift strike, cutting through the dark energy manifestations. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the group questions if they can even escape. A sudden interruption breaks their focus as a subordinate rushes in with urgent news. This man reports that the townspeople have turned violent, rioting in the streets outside. He warns that the mob is specifically targeting their vehicle, threatening their only exit. Outside, a massive crowd swarms the car, their movements fueled by a nearby divine presence. Jinquan realizes the situation is spiraling, ordering his team to move before it is too late. Jinquan and his team bolt from the tavern, desperate to reach their vehicle before chaos erupts. This tension is palpable as they realize the entire town has turned against them. A panicked bystander tries to catch up, clearly terrified of being left behind in the madness. They reach the car only to find a mob already swarming their path with hostile intent. 16 takes the lead, desperately trying to carve a path through the relentless, encroaching crowd. This skirmish turns physical as they struggle to push back the tide of aggressive townspeople. It quickly becomes clear that the sheer number of attackers makes a clean escape nearly impossible. High above the fray, a mysterious figure watches them with cold, detached amusement while sipping wine. This beastly entity reveals he has already decimated 12 towns. Finding their struggle utterly pathetic, Jinquan senses a suffocating divine pressure, realizing the true mastermind has finally decided to intervene. 16 takes a heavy hit as the mob swarms him, their aggression reaching a fever pitch. This crowd demands surrender, claiming their divine leader is the only one worthy of the vehicle. 16 refuses to go down without a fight, shouting his defiance at the encroaching masses. He unleashes a powerful strike, scattering the attackers and clearing a small space for himself. One of the assailants is sent flying, his desperate attempt to seize control ending in failure. Jinquan scans the chaotic scene, his sharp eyes searching for the source of this sudden hostility. A mysterious warrior descends from above, his presence cutting through the tension like a blade. Jinquan steps forward, signaling his team to stand down while he prepares to face the newcomer. His teammates watch in concern, realizing the situation has escalated far beyond a simple street brawl. Jinquan channels his energy to defend their property, ready to dismantle anyone foolish enough to interfere. His allies are clearly relieved to see Jinquan, pinning all their hopes on his arrival. Jinquan ignores the small-time thugs, focusing his intent entirely on finding the hidden divine envoy. He locks onto a distant, ominous aura, realizing the true threat is watching from above. A mob of local agitators tries to block his path, mocking his chances against divinity. Jinquan doesn't waste time with words, launching a swift strike to clear the immediate path. High on a rooftop, the mastermind finally reveals himself, clearly amused by the ongoing chaos. This beastly entity steps forward, his predatory gaze locked onto Jinquan as a worthy challenge. Dark energy surges through the crowd, turning the townspeople into mindless puppets for the envoy. This swarm of corrupted attackers lunges at Jinquan, desperate to earn favor with their master. Jinquan leaps into the fray, leaving the grunts to his team while he targets the boss. Jinquan unleashes a flurry of chains, vowing to leave none of the corrupted mob standing. This dark energy binding the townsfolk shatters under his relentless assault, clearing the immediate path. High above the chaos, the mastermind watches with cold interest, waiting for a worthy challenge. This beastly entity craves a powerful soul to consume, hoping Jinquan can finally satisfy him. Crushing his wineglass in anticipation, he prepares to descend and test his own strength. These two combatants collide in mid-air, their combined power sending shockwaves through the entire town. Landing with ease, the envoy mocks Jinquan, dismissing his current level of power as insufficient. A brutal exchange follows, with the beastly leader effortlessly overpowering Jinquan's defensive stance. He grabs Jinquan by the head, pinning him down with a display of overwhelming dominance. This envoy sneers, declaring that Jinquan is not even qualified to be his opponent yet. Jinquan demands the release of his companion, but the envoy remains completely unfazed by him. Linmeng takes aim from the rooftops, hoping to provide some much-needed support for Jinquan. She fires a precise shot, but the projectile is swatted away with almost insulting ease. This envoy deflects the attack with a casual flick, barely acknowledging her presence at all. He calmly inspects the spent casing, clearly unimpressed by their modern tactical approach to combat. Linmeng realizes the terrifying speed of their opponent, questioning if they can even survive. This envoy launches a devastating counterattack, sending Jinquan crashing hard into the ground below him. A massive shockwave tears through the area, leaving the surroundings in absolute, smoking ruin. This beastly leader mocks them, claiming they are no different from the previous failed challengers. Jinquan struggles to stand, finally grasping the crushing reality of the massive power gap between them. Linmeng and the team check on Jinquan, who is reeling from the overwhelming divine pressure. Panic sets in as they realize a divine envoy has cornered them in this desolate town. Jinquan knows they are outclassed, so he orders his allies to buy him some precious time. He explains that he must force a rank advancement to stand any chance against such power. This team is stunned when Jinquan reveals he possesses a rare, game-changing Legion token for this. Golden energy erupts around him as he begins the dangerous process of breaking his limits. This surrounding structures tremble under the sheer intensity of his sudden forced evolution. He warns his companions to hold their positions until he gives the signal to strike. This beastly envoy watches with amusement, eager to let his prey grow stronger for better sport. Jinquan pushes through the agony, fully committing to the risky advancement to survive the encounter. Jinquan burns through his massive massive stockpile of spirit crystals to trigger a forced rank advancement. Golden energy surges around him as he prepares to face the trial required for evolution. A massive spirit of advancement manifests in the form of a towering, flame-wreathed toad. This creature lets out a deafening roar, signaling the start of this high-stakes combat test. Jinquan draws his blade, knowing that defeating this beast is his only path to survival. Flames erupt from the creature's maw, forcing him to dodge with split-second, desperate precision. He counters with a swift strike, testing the defenses of the fiery, monstrous spirit. Realizing he has no time to waste, he pushes himself to end the fight immediately. Jinquan lunges directly at the beast, channeling every ounce of his remaining energy into offense. He delivers a final decisive blow that cuts through the flames and silences the creature. This beastly envoy sits high above the town, watching the chaos with cold, detached interest. Jinquan's team pauses in confusion, wondering why their powerful opponent has suddenly stopped his assault. They suspect he might be waiting for reinforcements, though his arrogance remains as thick as ever. Suddenly, the roar of engines breaks the silence as a new group arrives on the scene. Jinquan and his allies track the source of the divine aura, finally pinpointing the hidden threat. This beastly mastermind notices the newcomers, his expression shifting into a predatory, hungry grin. He dismisses the arriving riders as mere fodder, fully expecting them to meet a grim end. These new arrivals are scouts from the Flying Eagle Empire, hunting for intel on the envoy. They quickly coordinate their defense, forming a protective barrier to shield themselves from the coming storm. This envoy watches from his perch, genuinely surprised by the sudden appearance of these unexpected guests. Lin Meng watches in disbelief as the new arrivals recklessly challenge the divine envoy. One scout charges forward, unleashing a massive artillery blast directly at their powerful target. This golden beam tears through the air, creating a massive explosion upon impact. Smoke clears to reveal the envoy standing completely unharmed amidst the debris. He mocks their lack of self-awareness, casually swatting the projectile away with his bare hand. A surge of energy ripples from his palm, easily neutralizing the force of the attack. This scouts stare in absolute horror, realizing their strongest weapon failed to even scratch him. Jinquan watches with grim realization, confirming that their opponent has far surpassed rank 2. This envoy begins to channel dark, crackling energy, preparing to retaliate with lethal intent. He launches a devastating orb of purple destruction, signaling the end of their brief defiance. This scouts scramble to form a defensive barrier, desperate to protect their leader from harm, but the envoy's massive energy beam obliterates their shield in a single terrifying strike. This shockwave sends the entire squad flying through the air, completely helpless against such force. Their leader barely manages to stay conscious, staring in shock at the overwhelming display. Realization dawns on him that they were never even a minor inconvenience to this monster. This envoy closes the distance instantly, grabbing the scout by the throat with chilling ease. He scolds the man for ruining his evening, treating their lives like a mere nuisance. This scout can only gasp in terror, finally understanding the true gap in their power. With a casual motion, the envoy prepares to finish his prey without a second thought, and with one final, brutal strike, he discards the scout like trash into the darkness. A sudden overwhelming force locks the battlefield in place, freezing everyone in their tracks. This terrified scout realizes someone has stepped in to save him from certain doom. A brilliant pillar of energy erupts, signaling that the tide of battle is shifting. Jinquan emerges from the light, finally ready to confront the beastly envoy head-on. He reveals his new evolved status, fully prepared to challenge his opponent with newfound power. His teammates watch in awe as Jinquan steps forward, his successful advancement clear to all. This envoy finds the sudden change in Jinquan's aura genuinely amusing and worth his time. A blade drops to the ground, marking the start of a much more serious duel. This beastly leader grins, clearly excited that his prey has finally become a worthy opponent. Jinquan draws his weapon, and the two combatants prepare to collide with lethal intent. Jinquan declares his intent to end the madness, launching a fierce assault against the envoy. This beastly opponent is caught off guard by Jinquan's sudden surge in speed and intensity. Closing the gap, Jinquan strikes with everything he has to reclaim control of the battlefield. A star-shaped energy construct tears through the air, forcing the envoy to shift his focus. This monster grins, sensing a chance to consume Jinquan's power to fuel his own evolution. Purple energy erupts as the two clash, sending shockwaves that rattle the nearby town structures. Jinquan unleashes a devastating blade technique, cutting through the dark aura surrounding his massive foe. This envoy is forced back, visibly surprised that his opponent managed to land a hit. Realizing he has actually been injured, the beast's amusement turns into a cold, predatory rage. He prepares to end the fight, dismissing Jinquan as nothing more than a Tier 4 nuisance. Jinquan unleashes a massive, sweeping blade strike that forces the beastly envoy to retreat. The sheer force of the attack tears through the town, catching the monster off guard. Shock registers on the envoy's face as he realizes Jinquan's damage output is actually lethal. Seizing the momentum, Jinquan lunges forward with a relentless, high-speed offensive maneuver. This envoy tries to block with his bare hands, but Jinquan's blade cuts through his defense. Jinquan grins with cold confidence, proving that his new power level is no longer a joke. A surge of intense energy erupts, overwhelming the envoy's dark aura with pure focused strength. This beastly entity lets out a cry of pain as Jinquan's strike lands across critical blow, blood spills as the once arrogant envoy is finally brought down to his knees in defeat. This onlookers watch in total disbelief, witnessing the impossible sight of a fallen divine envoy. Jin Quan's allies watch in amazement as his successful rank advancement completely shifts the tide of battle. This beastly envoy realizes he underestimated his opponent and now finds himself on the defensive. Forced to reveal his true, monstrous form, the envoy lunges forward with raw, predatory aggression. Jin Quan keeps his cool, viewing the beast's desperate counterattack as a sign of his growing panic. This massive creature charges with overwhelming force, but Jin Quan remains composed and ready to strike. Suddenly, the envoy abandons the fight and leaps away, leaving Jin Quan stunned by the unexpected retreat. Jin Quan notes with dry sarcasm that even a divine envoy knows when to cut his losses. Nearby, a scout frantically documents the encounter. Realizing the myth of their invincibility is finally shattered, this team regroups, acknowledging that Jin Quan's new power forced the monster to flee for his life. Lin Meng rushes over to check on Jin Quan, who brushes off the encounter as a minor skirmish. Jin Quan urges his team to evacuate immediately. Fearing the envoy might return at any moment, he plans to drop everyone off in Redstone City before heading back to the capital. Just as they prepare to leave, a frantic scout rushes over to intercept their group. Jin Quan stops and demands to know who this persistent newcomer is and what he wants. This scout introduces himself as Lin Fei, captain of the Flying Eagle Empire's advance team. Lin Fei awkwardly asks for Jin Quan's contact information, clearly impressed by his recent display of power. Jin Quan shuts him down instantly, showing zero interest in building any new professional alliances today. This scout persists, shouting after them to at least leave behind a name for the record. Jin Quan pauses just long enough to drop his name, leaving the scout stunned by his presence. His companion teases him about gaining a fanboy, but Jin Quan just wants to get home safely. This scout frantically logs Jin Quan's name, still reeling from the display of raw power, while the team speeds away from the ruins, putting distance between them and the envoy. Inside the vehicle, the conversation shifts toward Jin Quan's future plans after this chaotic encounter. He admits a growing interest in exploring new dimensions to further his own potential, explaining that constant growth is the only way he can truly feel safe anymore. This car cruises through the night, eventually pulling up to the gates of Redstone City. Jin Quan steps out of the vehicle, finally arriving at their destination after the long ordeal. He tells Lin Meng they are finally safe and can head home to rest. But their departure is interrupted when a persistent follower begs to stay by his side. Jin Quan is clearly caught off guard by the sudden request to join his personal journey. Jin Quan catches wind of some suspicious activity involving a new dimension. His contact confirms that someone is actively recruiting miners in Redstone City. They head to the shantytown to investigate the strange gathering of laborers. A man at a desk manages the crowd, processing applicants with bureaucratic efficiency. Jin Quan and his team watch from the shadows, sizing up the operation. They wonder if this is truly a mining job or a front for something else. A local confirms the group is indeed heading into the dimension to extract resources. A self-proclaimed scalper named Eamon approaches them, offering his services for a price. Jin Quan questions how exactly this stranger can help them bypass the standard entry requirements. This scalper grins, offering to secure their work permits for a steep 10 gold coins. Jin Quan agrees to the deal, though he makes it clear he has zero patience for scams. The scalper leads them through the city streets, eager to prove his worth to his clients. He stops to inspect a hidden entrance, signaling that they have finally reached their secret destination, assuring them that his brother handles the paperwork. He encourages them to keep moving forward. They descend the stairs into the depths, leaving the surface world behind for the unknown. Reaching a heavy door, the guide prepares to reveal what lies hidden within the underground. This doors swing open to reveal a chaotic, neon-drenched club pulsing with loud, rhythmic energy. Dancers fill the floor under bright lights, completely oblivious to the newcomers watching from the edge. This guide navigates through the crowded room, leading Jin Quan toward the heart of the gang's territory. He explains that this is the Black Dragon Gang's base, where his brother holds the power. This guide leads Jin Quan and his team into the inner sanctum to meet his brother, who is currently occupied, though he quickly turns his attention to the new arrivals. This guide introduces the trio, explaining that they are looking to secure official work permits. This gang leader eyes them up, clearly unimpressed by their sudden intrusion into his space. He asks if they are aware of the steep cost required for such exclusive access. Jin Quan cuts straight to the point, offering 30 gold coins to secure the 3 permits. This leader signals his approval, ordering his associate to handle the transaction without any delay. A quick exchange occurs as Jin Quan hands over the payment for the necessary documentation. These permits are handed over, confirming their entry into the restricted mining operation. Jin Quan verifies their legitimacy, receiving a casual assurance that the deal is entirely honest. Jin Quan and his team prepare to move, hoping their new permits prove their worth. But their arrival is cut short by a sudden, aggressive raid on the club. Chaos erupts on the dance floor as armed men storm the room, demanding total compliance. This Blood Wolf gang crashes the party, clearly looking to dismantle the Black Dragon operation. They swarm the building with ruthless efficiency, determined to catch every gang member inside. Innocent patrons are caught in the crossfire as the raiders start grabbing anyone in sight. Jin Quan watches the unfolding disaster from the entrance, realizing their timing could not be worse. Their guide panics and bolts for the exit, desperate to escape the incoming gang war. This raiders spot the fleeing group and immediately shift their focus to hunt them down. Jinquan is forced to stand his ground, shoving aside the first attacker to clear a path. Jinquan and his team narrowly dodge the chaos, slipping away while the raiders are distracted. One of the Bloodwolf thugs curses his luck, realizing their primary targets have vanished. He quickly pivots, pointing out Jinquan's group to his boss as if they were involved. Lin Meng stares back in total confusion, completely blindsided by the sudden baseless accusation.